Well, it's very nice to be here. I've been asked to sing a verse and chorus of a little marching song of mine the boys adopted more or less during the war. I don't have to tell you I'm not much of a vocalist, but I'll do the best I can with it. So we'll just imagine for the moment we're back in 1917 and the orders from the front. Forward march, Doctor. Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling, you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, don't delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad, and tell your sweetheart not to pine, to be proud her boys in line. Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums coming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there. Say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Okay, everybody, we are back. Hello out there in YouTube land. I hope everybody had a happy and thankful Thanksgiving. My name is Matt Yancic. I am the founder and the head game master of Manufactured Myth and Legerdemain. And welcome to episode 8 of the FiERCE BRooD. This is an RPG actual play of historic fiction. So don't tune out. No, we're not Dungeons and Dragons. We're historic fiction, which gives us an angle in. You know, that's our thing. That's our niche. That's what we're going for. So in each episode, we're going to be blending actual locations, events, and historic figures from Boston of 1918 with a fictional story and fictional characters of our own creation. So for those of you concurrent viewers that are watching, if you listen carefully, you might notice a few historic Easter eggs in there every so often throughout the story. So please don't be afraid to speak up in the chat. I know it's really busy and there are a lot of people in chat right now, but we're believe me, like we go back and we review all of the comments in the chat, and we respond to each and every one with praise or anger or frustration, but always with humility. So please don't be afraid to comment in the chat. As always, I am joined by my trusted allies and very good friends, a band of buddies that I have traveled with for a long time now, since high school. So to my, well, I'm not even going to do it that way because I always get it screwed up. Like I can't tell if I'm backward or I'm like forward or left or right. And anyway, Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about your character and who you're playing for tonight's adventure?
Sure. So I'm Steve, and I'm portraying Ezekiel Z. Brewster, who is, in game terms, a magical adept. So he's got some mystical powers. And he is currently a seminarian with, ironically comes from a Boston Brahmin Protestant family that he was kicked out of for various reasons.
Excellent. We will hopefully be hearing more from Z later on in tonight's adventure. How about you, James? Can you tell us who you will be playing for tonight's adventure?
Yeah, I'm playing Vesper Evenwing, a skeptical speaker who keeps a magical ally who's a charming little cat named Mars and gets to run around and do fun things with me and gives me someone else to talk to. I'm a composer of music and rather deceptive fellow, and have been proving that out a little bit here and there through the
Excellent.
adventure.
I'd like to point something out for our viewers. I'd like to point out the very carefully placed ceiling fan in James's window. James put a lot of thought and effort. From what I understand, that was installed yesterday, specifically for tonight's adventure. He was looking for a little kind of film noirish or Apocalypse Now or Blade Runnerish kind of feel to that. And as far as I'm concerned, he's really succeeding. So thank you very much for all the work.
Thank you. I'm still working on the lighting, and the fog machine should be here next week.
Okay, excellent. Oh, is someone getting married over there, and they are tapping at a crystal goblet?
Yeah,
or
I
something,
have to run
asking
off
the
and
bride and groom to
kiss the bride. Actually, lucky me, there's cupcakes in my future, so I'm gonna let that work.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for diverting here, but I have noticed it's your cat's feeding time. Is that not correct, James?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Is it
Mars,
exactly?
The real Mars is getting fed right now.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like at the start of every game, I hear that same tapping, and it just...
Actually, we're a little late. Usually we do it more 6:30, but we're running a little late. So.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, sorry. I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Please.
It's
please.
okay. We delayed it so that the viewers get to experience it too.
Well, if thank you, so they can experience it in all of its glass tapping glory. Thank you
We're
so
doing,
much.
if
Yes?
it's a historical game, I'm also trying to tie it into the present with the real Mars being fed to the game. It's pretty meta.
It works. No, I'd say it works. Absolutely. It's more like LARPing. You're LARPing with your cat.
I'm LARPing so hard right now.
That's right. I can see all the ceiling fan and the cat and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. Let's go to our, even though, despite the fact that this story takes place in Boston, let's go to our conscientious objector in wearing the New York cap. Jared, can you tell us a little bit about your character, even though he's worth less because he's rooting for New York?
Sure. It's not a conscious objector. I'm just trolling.
Got it.
That's all.
Oh, okay. Troll. All right. I stand
Thomas
corrected.
Brandon Dietrich. I'm playing Thomas Brandon Dietrich. Usually goes by TBD. In game terms, he is a graceful explorer who learns quickly. He has spent most of his career as a field scientist, sort of traveling around gathering items for experiments. So this is just another giant experiment for him.
Oh, cool. Okay, excellent. So thank you so much for that. Any sounds, any ambient noise there? Let's all listen for just a moment.
The dryer might kick in soon.
That's right. Every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. It's just stunning. The cat, the dryer. This is amazing. Let's head over and visit our good buddy Frank. Frank, can you tell us a little bit about your character? Yes, that is correct. You, Frank.
Yeah.
And
all right.
Are you a little down on your luck right now? Because you don't look like you're inside. You look like you're transmitting out of a railroad yard.
It is. It's not only is it a railroad yard, it's a black and white railroad yard. We couldn't even afford the color.
Wow.
That's
right.
how down on my luck I am.
That's right.
Are you standing behind a barrel fire?
Yeah,
like
55-gallon drum just off camera. Just trying
You didn't
to
get
keep warm.
anything out of Matt's
Is
Patreon
someone
budget?
buying a firearm somewhere behind you, like in a like brown paper bag, and passing it over?
Relax. I am Frank, and I am playing Frank. That's not a mistake. My character is Francis Murphy. You can call me Murph, but I'm a little thick in the head sometimes. I'm not necessarily the fastest in the bunch, but I am, by definition of my character sheet, a resilient, so really dense, thick, tough,
Yeah.
a resilient night watchman who is licensed to carry. Don't worry. This is a prop. It's not a real firearm. No need to worry, everybody. Uh, I have yet to find one of these Easter eggs you talk about, and I've looked just about everywhere in this adventure, but I am hopeful that one will turn up tonight.
Wants that chocolate.
Oh, everybody knows I'm a charlatan and a flim flam man, and I'm a consummate salesman. So all I'm doing here is just selling. I'm selling things to you, and when you buy them, you buyer beware. So I apologize if you haven't been able to find them, and I would suggest that it may be the fault of the user, perhaps, but that's just a suggestion.
That's what my friends say.
Yeah, that's right. At any rate, you may have heard the way in which my four compatriots have been describing their characters. Adjective, verb, adjective, verb. I'm an English teacher, and I screwed up the order, the subject, verb, object order, and I'm also a role player, which, yeah, that's pretty sad. You may have heard them describing their characters in terms of adjective, noun, that verbs. And that is because we're using Monty Cook's cipher system. And for the, wow, look at that. Yeah. So, for example, if you take a look at Frank's character sheet, it's Frank Murphy is a resilient watchman who needs to move his clipboard to the right because I can't see it.
Monitor.
That's right. Who needs a second display? That is because we're using Monty Cook's cipher system. It's actually a pretty awesome, pretty cool system. We've been using it now for quite a while. We very much enjoy it. It's more about the narrative than it is about the rolling. And true confession here, I'm an English teacher. I'm not a math teacher, which means I have a lot of trouble making basic calculations. So like the system a lot, and that's what we're going to be using tonight. You may see little title cards flash from time to time where we explain exactly what it is that we're doing and the rules that we're going by. So I hope those are helpful maybe to those of you who may be interested in getting into either role-playing or getting into cipher system. And now, let's get on with the show, however. In prior episodes of the FiERCE BRooD, our four heroes were drawn to the sixth game of the World Series in Boston, Massachusetts in 1918. There they found themselves transported to a mysterious basement room somewhere deep within the stadium where the four became embroiled in an interdimensional kidnapping. A young boy by the name of Pascal was being fought over by Harold Coatsworth III, a member of the Watch and Ward Society, and Leonard Cloudy, a representative of the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities. Each man laid claim to Pascal, but going on a hunch, our four heroes decided to entrust Leonard Cloudy, defend the boy from Harold Coatsworth III, and escort him from this mysterious underground room to a location on the north end of Boston, the Old North Church. Frank, that's an Easter egg right there. Frank.
There's one.
Did you notice? There it is. Did you see it go by the screen?
I lost it.
There we go. That's all right. The going wasn't easy, though, and the four heroes found themselves chased across Boston by Mr. Coatsworth III and his mysterious minions called Skin Dogs, but they ultimately made it. There, in the catacombs and crypts beneath the Old North Church, they awakened a family of corpses that had been slumbering for several hundred years by rejuvenating them with a mysterious, mind-altering substance capable of opening doors to other dimensions and reversing, it seems, even death. Attacked once again by Mr. Coatsworth III and his minions, the four of them, along with Pascal and Cloudy, and the three resurrected corpses, now living, slipped across dimensions to another dimension within dimensions, the ring realms of Vagaver, which serves as a kind of nexus for all times and all places. There, they found themselves in a mysterious, shadowy, and otherworldly version of Boston called Tremontaine. And so, on the shores of what would have been the North End, in a structure which should have been the Old North Church, but here in Vagaver's Tremontaine was actually a lighthouse, they met a southern gentleman calling himself Mr. Haley, but resembling Samuel Clemens, also known as Mark Twain. Haley thanks them for their services and asks if they might do some favors, irregular favors, for the members of his organization, the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities. Not quite agreeing, at a tree not far from the otherworldly lighthouse, a ghostly apparition that Mr. Haley claims is his long-dead wife asks them, in the meantime, to deliver a single envelope addressed to an acquaintance of T.B. Dietrich's, none other than Dr. Farley, a Harvard professor and researcher. Upon returning to Boston with Haley and his dead wife's letter, however, they discovered that time had passed and the world had, in their absence, moved on. It was now November 11th, and when they approached Dr. Farley at his Harvard office, he revealed that he was, in fact, Mr. Haley's son, also known as Langdon Clemens, who had been reported as having died when he was 2 years old, but now lives in secret as a professor at Harvard. In their talk with Dr. Farley, he reveals that today, November 11th, 1918, an armistice is being signed across the ocean. Enemy forces commanded and tricked and controlled by forces in Vancouver are surrendering. The battle is over, he informs them, but not the interdimensional war. He asks that Z, Murphy, Vesper, and Dietrich find Harold Coatsworth III, member of the Watch and Ward Society, wherever he may be in Boston or Tremontaine. They needn't necessarily kill him, but at least alert agents within the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities so that they might dispatch him, and promises to dispatch some supplies of his own as soon as he can. And so, now that the big spiel is over, I'm going to turn things over to my players who, well, everybody at home probably thinks that that summary is for you. But to be honest, it's for us, because it's hard enough jamming one game in, but to jam two in by listening to it and reviewing all of our notes is tough. So we're sort of doing that for ourselves. But gentlemen, does anyone have any questions or kind of want to straighten out or tell us maybe where we are at this point exactly in time?
Well, Matt, your summary of 18 hours of gameplay was spectacular.
I'd say it's more than 18 hours. We've played 7 episodes times 4, 7 times 4. I don't know. Again, I'm not a math teacher. I think that's 127 hours.
But all I know is that we just got off a rail car of some sort. That's my mind.
Yes.
Someone else is going to need to help.
Yes. You are getting off of a rail car. So the 4 of you, after meeting Dr. Farley in his offices at Harvard, and after he agrees to get you supplies, you embark on you board a streetcar and make your way to a central station where ultimately the 4 of you have to divide up. And while you're on this streetcar, Z, you end up seeing who?
Almost a ghostly apparition of a 17th century Puritan in the whole garb, black cape and hat, who I've seen at several points in my life, but never have been able to confront. And I have doubts whether it's real or it's in my head, so to speak.
And Murphy, you see someone on that streetcar as well.
Yeah, someone who used to be on the force back when I was a policeman many years ago. I think his name is Lenny Shaw. I recognize his face. He was pretending to read a newspaper, but I feel like he was keeping an eye on us at the same time, and then he just disappeared.
If anyone is wondering what I'm doing, I'm taking a note on who Lenny Shaw is. I allow my players, and I expect them, and I hope that they're going to make up part of the story on their own, and I had already named him something else, but now I don't know if you saw me furiously scratching something out, but I meant to write Lenny Shaw, not the name that I actually wrote down. But that actually isn't quite complete. That's not the whole picture, because Vesper, you had seen someone earlier on when you were heading through and up to Dr. Farley's office. Someone that kind of stood out to you. Who was that?
Was this Zeitweber? The clock
That
lady?
is. Thank you for remembering the name that I wrote down. That is true. You saw a woman by the name of
Miss
Zeitweber,
Zeitweber.
dressed all in blue, and she was standing out to you. Was there any particular reason why? And I'm posing this to you. I'm not actually.
Just standing so starkly in contrast to who I had immediately decided were, say, the nerds and
Yeah.
the professors and the grad students and all these that I kind of eschew in this room. And then now, especially having picked my interest like that, having had an influence on Mars to where Mars couldn't even exactly remember something she was tasked with, which is rather distressing. So, and in line with then Farley's description of this other mystical group of Vagaver, this clockmakers group, is very disturbing and needs investigation of some kind.
I like it. Thank you. And you had actually bumped into somebody as well, Dietrich, before you went to Dr. Farley's office. And do you remember who that was?
Winthrop the Third. Is that who it was? I can't remember.
Reginald Winthrop the Third. He was called the Third, but I've decided to drop that because I know as a game master, I'm going to get all these thirds confused. That may or may not work for me or against me. I haven't decided yet, and it remains to be seen. But at any rate, yes. And he had turned out to be who? Do you recall, or shall I fill you in?
You could fill me in, but if I remember, he was a grad student that I had met before. He wasn't necessarily working with Dr. Farley particularly. There was someone else he was mainly attached to, but he definitely knew of Dr. Farley.
Yes, that is, in a nutshell, basically who he was. He was a wet behind the ears grad student who was sort of dressed to, or I should say, he was attempting to impress you. He had seen you around the offices, and he knew that you were indeed at least acquainted with Dr. Farley. And so in an attempt perhaps to impress you, or at least to get on Dr. Farley's good side, or maybe your own good side, he follows you to the Harvard campus. And now we're talking about the campus near Massachusetts Avenue in Cambridge. And so that leaves us here at a jumping off point for the four of you. So the four of you have come to a hub, come to a station where now it's sort of clear that you need to go your separate ways, at least for a few hours. You're free to talk between yourselves and kind of straighten out what you want to do and straighten out any questions that you may have between the four of you at this point.
Right, gentlemen, I think we've all got a new job, and I don't know about the rest of you. I don't know much about your private lives, but I need to go back to the seminary and I'll explain myself, number one, and ask for a leave of absence, number two.
Yeah, well, it's been, by my reckoning, 2 months.
Yeah.
Since we were last here. I might want to find out if I still have a job at the rail yard or not.
myself, I know I'll be sorely missed by no one. But a night on my own. It's a beautiful stars. It's the night.
And TBD, I guess in some way you got the job with Farley.
I got the job I was looking for. That worked out
He's the
very
only one
well
that
for
made.
me.
He's the only one that made out.
Very well.
It's a long
Well,
interview.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
had, no other connection, so I will go ahead and check in on my apartment. But yeah. Worked out
Let me
well for
clarify that. Isn't it an apartment? I wrote down hotel room.
No. Nope. It's definitely an apartment.
All right, I'm gonna cross my fingers that nobody goes back and checks that. But I think the fun part of playing a game is just sort of making it up as you go along. So even if you did say that, I'm not too worried about it. So you're in an apartment, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Rated XP for that.
I don't know if he should get XP for breaking what he said before. Like if he had maybe gone for it, or did you say
No, I was
deduct
at apartment.
XP or give him XP?
No, he used XP to turn his hotel room into an apartment.
I will give it to him. I'm totally freeform with this and loose about it. I'm not worried at all. So we'll just call it an apartment, and we'll figure it out when we get there. So at this point, are the four of you basically splitting up? Is that what's going on here?
Well, yeah, I think we should plan to meet back maybe
right
midday
here?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I need to be on the rail line until we get our car.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this seems like as good a place as any. There's a nice diner at the corner, Mickey's. We could meet for some coffee.
Sounds good.
All right.
Is everybody kind of in agreement about that? Mickey's Diner tomorrow at noon?
That'll work.
Perfect.
Man.
Okay. Now, so who'd like to go first? As we send you off on your way. Anybody in particular? I'm totally fine with it. Whoever would like to go is fine to go.
I vote Steve. He's got the good
Oh,
stuff.
Oh, you vote for
Okay.
Steve?
All
Are
right,
you
here we go.
nominating
It's the
Steve?
most pressure
Oh.
to get back to that seminary.
Exactly.
I know, right?
Well, think
Yeah.
about it.
Vesper might actually be the most interesting, but
Yeah.
I'm still going to vote for Steve.
I mean, think if you left your college for 2 months, and then you walk in 2 months later. See,
Depends on
Yeah.
the college, right?
yeah.
And
All
you
right.
know, maybe everybody is zooming at this point. Who knows?
No, I don't mind. You know, and what I would do first, even before going back to my room
Mhm.
and my quarters, is go to my my Monsignor's office, who is
Okay.
you know, kind of my mentor and advisor.
All right. So, can you tell us you're at St. John's Seminary? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
cool. So, can you tell us anything about St. John's Seminary? And even if you don't, tell us,
Well,
or if you don't know, go ahead.
It's on the outskirts of Boston, in
Mhm.
in Chestnut Hill, actually right across the street from Boston College.
Mhm.
And you know, it's your typical seminary. It's got classes of aspiring priests who do a full coursework and ministry in the area, and we all assist at various churches in the area,
Mhm.
you know, at the same time that we do our studies. So I did kind of, you know, abdicate some duties here. No
Yeah.
fault of my own because of time displacement, but I've been away quite a while. So
Right.
I'm sure that something's probably gonna hit the fan,
Okay.
and
Um,
not the one that's above James's head.
Hopefully not. Hopefully
Hopefully.
James is not going to hit his own fan.
And hopefully it doesn't travel to the fan and hit me.
Right. That would be terrible. So then, can you tell us a little bit, Z, about the entering the campus? Well, I should say the seminary itself. I mean, is it a proper campus? I actually, what's funny is I
Yes,
used
it
to
is.
drive by there when I
Mhm.
went to my job in Brookline for. But
Yeah.
I didn't really.
It's definitely a campus. There's a library. There's dormitories. There's classroom buildings. There's obviously a chapel. Um, this is going off of my knowledge of it in the 1990s, which is a little different probably than what it was in 1918.
Yeah.
But a lot of those buildings were fairly old, so I think that at least some of them were probably there.
Sure.
Probably just and very extensive grounds, well manicured grounds as well.
So entering those grounds, as you do make your way towards your Monsignor's office, located somewhere vaguely and conveniently in the middle of the campus, what you notice is that every so often people are looking up at you, maybe a few students or maybe a teacher, here or there. And the feeling that you get is that of you've been gone for several months, and people look as if they're a little surprised to have heard from you or to be seeing you now. Is there anything in your past that you would have shared with people on the campus that maybe they might be reacting to, or is it just your general having been missing?
I would think that there's probably a little bit of suspicion about me, only because my background was, Protestant. The family that I was born into was a prominent Boston family, the Brewsters, and so I would have imagined that while everybody's treated me very well, there was always that nagging suspicion that is he really
serious about this?
Is this for real? Yeah. Is this for real, or is this a convenience or something else? So, I would imagine that being missing for 2 months may confirm those nagging suspicions that people might have had about that.
Sure. So you are getting some of those looks, and maybe even a few tut-tuts, because there were quite a few doubters there among the student body that didn't really take you that seriously, and maybe even a few people rolling their eyes. And as you cross the lawn going to your Monsignor's building, there are indeed a few people whose jaws actually drop. And maybe you might hear, but not quite see where they're coming from, a few comments from people about the fact that you've actually returned, and wondering whether or not you're returning for real, or if you're returning just because you might need something from the Monsignor. But again, you don't quite see where these comments are coming from, and you see some of the jaw droppers, and then you enter the building and twist your way through the building, ultimately to your Monsignor's office. And can you tell us a little bit about who this person is?
Sure. So his name is Jack Fry, and he is a probably in his 60s Monsignor, senior priest, been at the seminary for quite a while. He has been my academic kind of advisor, as well as spiritual advisor and mentor. He was a good friend of my foster family, an Irish Catholic family from Newton, Massachusetts, right next to Boston. And so, when he was probably one of the leading reasons why I joined the seminary and joined the faith. And I've confided a lot about my past with him, probably more than with any other person.
So as you enter his office, you see an old man hunched over a typewriter, hunting and pecking out a letter. And he's as he does so, he's clearly mumbling under his breath, and the impression that you get is that were he not perhaps a father, he might be using some colorful language and be speaking a little bit louder than he is now. And as he's hunting and pecking and typing out his letter, he looks up. His jaw drops. He leans back in his chair, and you hear the squeaking of the wood and metal as it heaves under his weight. And he grips his chest. My God! Oh! and he looks like he's about to have a minor heart attack when he sees you entering.
Hello, Monsignor. It's been a while.
It takes him a moment to get his bearings, and you hear the squeaking chair back and forth as he leans back to support himself, and then he leans forward as if he's going to get up, and he leans back, and then he stands up. Ezekiel, my goodness, man, where have you been? And he stands and he brings you into his embrace, and he immediately calls out to the reception area, and he asks for some beverages to be brought in immediately, and he needs some sugar at this point. And then with that, he does something odd, however, and he slams the door behind you, but not in a way where he's angry or anything, but he just sort of slams it shut as if he's sort of forgotten that he's just asked for some sugary beverages, and he takes you by the arms and he hugs you one more time, and then he tosses you down in a couch next to his desk. Where have you been, boy? It's been months. Your parents are very... He gets up as if he's maybe wants to like let your parents know, but your parents obviously aren't in the room, and then he sits back down again. Where have you been?
Monsignor, I have quite a story to tell.
I'm sure you do, my dear boy, but you're back. You don't know how I've been at bat for you for weeks now since you've disappeared. That we've had the police looking for you. Your parents have been worried. Most of the student body has thought that you had gone off, jumped on a train, and headed south to make a career as a hobo. But no one took you serious. What is going on, boy? And he grabs you again by the shoulders, inspecting you as if to sort of figure out whether or not you've been damaged in shipping.
Well, it's going to sound fantastical, but you've known me for quite a while, and you know that I would never lie.
As soon as you say this, the door opens up, and someone from a rather young-looking fellow student who has perhaps been working in the reception area comes in with a tray of orange juice and two glasses and sets it on the table, and the Monsignor Fry gets up and he on your way, thank you, on your way, slams the door shut. Fantastical, you say?
Yes. You know that I've been gone for months. But for me, it's been a day.
Well, please, stop. Let's drop the metaphors. I know that perhaps you had a great time out there for a few months, but really, you obviously are not taking this seriously. I know young men need to sow their oats. I know young men need to get out there, but you could have at least come to me, son. You could have come to me with this. Where have you been?
Monsignor Fry, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that at all. You recall the night of the World Series game 6. It was the night I disappeared, September 11th.
He shakes his head, and you remember that he does occasionally put money in a small pool to bet on things, and you sort of realize, oh yeah, he was actually rooting for the other team, for the Chicago Cubs. But anyway, I do remember. My wallet also remembers, son.
So on that night, I encountered some strangers, and we all went on a journey. And you mentioned people thought I jumped on a train and headed south, but in fact, I traveled far greater distance than that. I can only speak of it in spiritual terms, but we went to a different realm. We went to a different
he
place.
holds up his hand with that immediately, and he walks over and he locks the door, And then with the window that sort of looks out on the reception area, he like yanks the blinds and they just come rattling down, and then he adjusts them and closes them. What are you talking about?
It's I realize very difficult to believe, and it seems like it's something out of a fairy tale or a fairyland. But we traveled to a different place, a place with different beings of different races, not, and I don't mean, shades of human races. I mean actual different species. And in this land we met, well, I'll throw it out because it sounds fantastical. We met Mark Twain.
He does a double take at that, and he reaches over for the orange juice and he pours some for the both of you, and he's like, you desperately need some sugar. And he downs his very quickly and hands you your own glass. Mark Twain, you're talking nonsense. Do you understand that for the last several weeks, I have been... your parents were worried.
I know they must have been. I know they must have been. I came.
Mark Twain.
I came to you first. I came to you first because of anyone on this planet. You would be the one that would know that A, I'm telling the truth, and B, that there are other worlds. Because I believe that I visited a place that maybe resembles some kind of purgatory, because there were dead people there. People who once lived here now live there. And they are very much alive, very much walking around, very much breathing. You can pinch them. You can, they drop papers. They write things. But they are not. When they were here, they have died. So, and when I say that it was as if it was only a day in my time frame, I've only been gone 24 hours. But when we came back here, it was November 11th, 2 months later.
He leans back on his desk and folds his arms over his stomach, looks down at you. How have the flare-ups? Well, let me ask you this. You have told him about...
Yes.
How are the flare-ups, son? Are they more serious?
That's another thing. I never had much control, as you know, over the flames. They never harmed me, but I could never trigger them. And then I will actually make a roll.
Yeah.
I don't want to burst into flames, but I'm gonna
roll high then.
I'm gonna take one of the glasses. I'll drink the orange juice.
Yeah.
And I'll put the glass on his desk.
Yeah.
And then I'll just kind of roll up my sleeves and kind of make motion to him that, there's no wires, no anything. And then I'm going to use the push power.
Okay.
To push the glass
across the tray.
Across the tray.
Okay. Or were you about to say off the tray?
Well, no, I meant, no, I don't want to break the glass, but
right.
I wanted to, make sure that obviously it was not just, a trick, that it actually moved,
So for those of you watching at home, just to explain how the Cipher system works, here is a quick little preview taken from the rule book, the revised rule book. So first of all, the game master and the player decide what task stat to use, and then I, as a game master, decide what the difficulty should be from 1 to 10. I then multiply that difficulty by 3. This becomes a target number. So if I decide that the task is a difficulty of 3, I multiply it by 3, getting me a result of 9. Following that, the player and the game master negotiate to modify the difficulty by bringing it down, and then you roll the die to find out how you do. And so just so that everybody at home kind of knows what we're about to do. So I've got an idea for the task difficulty with that much kind of precision, because just to remind you, this is a new, it's not a newly acquired talent, but it is, the fine control that you're asking here is kind of tough. So I've got a difficulty in mind, which I'm not going to tell you, but you can go ahead and tell me how you want to.
I will use an intellect effort.
Okay.
So now I have
by 1.
I have an edge of 2, so that costs me 1 point now.
Costs you only 1 point out of your pool.
Okay. All right, and then I don't think I have any other ways of mitigating that.
You could perhaps use an asset, which is just a physical thing around you. Perhaps if you can use your imagination to create something that might help you focus yourself, perhaps?
I don't know of any object.
Any suggestions, gentlemen? I'm more than happy to take them. None.
Well, if
None.
you want to focus, you can. Mm-hmm. If you want to focus, you could use a wand equivalent, right? Maybe a pencil or pen or something, right, to focus the energy.
Yeah, that's an idea. I would be. The judges will accept that answer. It's up to you.
Yeah. So sure, I'll pick up like a
cross.
I don't know that I want to do that because I don't want to. I don't think the powers are necessarily. I don't want to suggest that they're God-given.
Yeah, it might seem kind of blasphemous too.
Yeah, I'd rather grab like maybe his letter opener,
off
of the desk.
Boom.
And then
like
just
really...
use that almost like a wand, and then try to push the glass across the table.
Sure.
All right, and the moment of truth is right down the middle. It's a 10.
A 10. And so when this happens, the glass on the tray, it's as if you've just punched it, and the glass just suddenly fires across the tray, hits the lip of the tray, flips over, spilling orange juice all across the table, and then the glass goes tumbling end over end, hits the ground, and breaks.
Well, point of order. I did drink the orange juice before the glass. No, serious. I mentioned that before. Yeah,
that's true. All right. Well, let's just say some of the orange juice. I'm trying to add dramatic effect. Work with me here. Work with me. Come on.
But I'm not in it to ruin a rug here.
That's right. It ties the room together. We wouldn't want to ruin a rug. So pulpy extract tumbles out of the top of the glass, splattering across the wall, not hitting the rug, and the glass hits the ground, tumbles into the corner, and shatters. And when Monsignor Fry sees this, he leans back, pulling his hands from where they're crossed over his stomach, and he visibly is stricken, and he grabs the edges of his desk, and you can see the sweat that breaks out on his forehead. You did that, he says.
I did. And I feel I haven't experimented with it all, but I feel there's more that I can do now that I couldn't do before. Somehow traveling to this other realm, this other purgatory that I visited, it unlocked something. And I have a question to ask you.
Yes, my son.
Have you ever heard of the Watch and Ward Society?
As soon as you say that, the glass that he's about to put to his lips, he just stops. It's clear that he's heard of it just by his reaction, but he's thinking for a moment. I have.
What do you know of him?
I know of their reputation, but I do not know if I know of them. I know that they operate under a costume, from behind a mask, claiming to protect the true values of humanity. But in fact, what they really try to do, from what I hear, is eliminate those that oppose their mission. And their mission is simply one of control, one of imposing their own brand of law and order on the world around them. Why do you bring up the Watch and Ward Society?
We encountered one of their operatives, a man named Coatsworth. No one I've ever seen before, but he is one of these beings from this other world, and he is operating as a member of this society, maybe a leader of this society. And the people of that world, Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, or as he calls himself in that world, Haley, has enlisted me and these other strangers that I talk about, that I can now, even after only a day, can call friends, just with what we've been through. And they've charged us with rooting this Coatsworth out and stopping this Watch and Ward Society. I know it must sound like I've gone mad, but I assure you, I don't drink. It's not madness.
He snorts. You've been gone for 2 months. A lot can happen in 2 months. However,
I've been gone
will
for
confess,
24 hours.
I will confess, I have never seen that sort of a trick before. And between that and the fire that you seem able to produce,
I have another thing.
Another, my son. Hold on. And when you say this, he stands up, goes around behind his desk. He pulls out a beer and he pops it.
Yeah.
I keep these around to steady my hands and slow my heart. He pops it, takes a small sip.
The news hasn't reached us yet. But there was an armistice signed today, and I witnessed it. It was a spectral apparition. It was happening in France. But the war is over, Monsignor. And I'm sure the telegraphs are probably...
You now claim to have gone to France in the last...
No. I had a vision. We all had a vision. An apparition showing that the physical war here in Europe, on Earth, is ended. But
that this, if it has ended, it will be confirmed within the next 24 hours. Probably tonight's papers.
It probably will be in the evening paper. I'm sure the telegraph wires are gathering the information now, but I assure you that no one, if you ask anyone out here, they haven't heard, because it only just happened within an hour. And I witnessed it.
Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see what's in the evening's papers. Even Nostradamus gave himself a few years of padding with his predictions. But you, sir, you live a dangerous life, my son.
Well, and that is the second part of why I came to you first. This mission, which I am embracing because I feel like it is a calling. I need to take a leave, a longer leave. I know 2 months seems like 2 months, but it may be longer. I don't know how time works
What
in
what
this
shall I
world,
tell
but
your parents about this then? What shall I tell my superiors, the rector and the vice
I
rector?
will.
What do I tell them?
You can tell them that I'm taking a pilgrimage.
He
I,
snorts at
I
that.
I don't want to put you in a position to lie, and it's not a lie. It is a pilgrimage, but it's not to the Holy Land, and it's not to a shrine. It's to this other realm, which I believe is another one of God's creations, just a different version, and where dead people sometimes go. So we can call it purgatory. We can call it. I'm sure the Protestants of my upbringing would scoff at that, but we know it's there. We know things are there, and I need to investigate, and I need to find this Coatsworth and stop this Coatsworth, if indeed that's who he's operating against. And so I tell them I'm on a pilgrimage, a spiritual journey, if you will.
I need to ask you to do your best to remain, if you can, at least anchored and grounded. I could probably get you the next semester. It is now
Okay.
it is now December. I could definitely get you through until the new year. Next semester, I am not so sure about. I could get you through this semester.
Okay.
Is there some way you could remain anchored here, remain rooted, or at least show we have?
Well, it's still also new, but I will make every effort, and I will try to figure out this time displacement. If I were to travel back there, but what I will do in the meanwhile, in the next few hours, because I do want you to see, I want you to see when the wire comes through, when the papers report it, and I'm not lying. I will draft a letter to my parents. I think it would be too hard for me to visit them at this time, because I know I'm going away. I'm tomorrow morning. I'm leaving, and I will take my things from my room, and I will be going away. I don't know how long I'll be back, but I do appreciate that you can hold my place at least until the new year, and hopefully by then it will be complete, and I will have a better understanding.
I will trust you on this, and I will do my best. But I hope that you will at least present yourself, perhaps, to the rector. He or the vice rector. They will not be pleased. And I feel that if you can at least make the petition in person, we can make this work. Perhaps a little better. I ask you, however, I implore you not to mention this other world and this mission. I will trust you in this, but I hope you trust me in keeping these things, such as your abilities, such as you've done for the last few years under my tutelage. I will trust you if you keep it a secret.
Can you arrange a meeting tonight?
I could.
Okay. Let's do that, because as I said, I have to leave in the morning.
All right, then. And unless there's something else you kind of want to get out of him, I think we can kind of
No, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, you arrange a time and a place, and we can kind of play with that later when we get into the game. Is there anyone that would like to go next to settle your scores, wherever they may be?
I certainly could.
Mm-hmm. All right, Vesper. So, Vesper, you so far are the most mysterious of the gang, and you have been very careful about regulating information about your background and your history. So everybody might be in for a bit of a treat now as we uncover a little bit more about who you are and your lifestyle. So, as you disembark from the train, you kind of go, or I should say, the streetcar. You go on your merry way.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip the collar up, put the hands deep in the pockets, give a little head flip towards Mars, and head off east.
Is Mars kind of walking along with you, like keeping pace with you? That's
Yeah,
cool.
and not like as a and not like a hey, come on, keep up, but just a
Mm-hmm.
confident companion
Yeah,
striding next to you, even though
yeah.
she's tiny.
No, I get it. And let me ask this again. I know I've asked this probably every episode, but um, people can see Mars, correct?
Yes, she can decide to like just go somewhere else, but then she'll be actually secreted away. So yes, but people can see her.
Right.
Although
Okay.
if it's nighttime, she is a black cat, so that could be difficult.
Yeah, that might right. So that's just all of the things that come with being a black cat. So nothing particularly
Yeah.
special, just the fact that she's a black cat.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So tell us, you said that you head east, but is there anywhere in particular? Where are you
Yeah,
staying now, and where are you going?
I have kind of a planned route because I want to stop by Symphony Hall.
Mm-hmm.
If we're sort of in Fenway Park area,
Yeah.
across the fens there, and then
Mm-hmm.
to Symphony Hall, and then I'm going to go to the uh, old home slash studio of my former mentor.
Cool. I really need to come up with an overlay, a map of 1918 Boston. I keep telling myself to do that, like at the end of every episode, and then I forget. And then when I do remember, I think in really elaborate terms, and I'm like, I'm gonna make it animated. I'm gonna make it like
Ooh.
zing around this way and like be 3D and all that. And then by the time I realize that this is way too overwhelming, it's 15 minutes before we have to go on the air. So, at any
So
rate,
yeah,
go
the
ahead.
main focus of the route is just that I mean all this is pretty close to where we are. It's easily walkable because I really don't have a place to go.
Right.
And I haven't been through this area really aside from driving around years ago, but
Mm-hmm.
there seems to be a good pathway through this area with what is that, a river, a stream? I don't know, but to kind of walk through that at night to get
Mm-hmm.
to the other side to end up near Symphony Hall and start
Sure.
from there.
So you sort of thread your way through the streets, and what's really kind of cool about this is as you're moving through the streets, as you've already described, Mars keeps right up with you. And I hate to say this like I'm comparing species, but Mars keeps up with you the same way a dog would trot alongside its owner, or its companion, I should probably say.
But with that kind of cat attitude of experiencing the world for herself, so
Right.
it's pretty fun. But yeah, and I like to talk to her, so I'll start to muse a bit with Mars as we go.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything in particular you're talking about, like, or
Yeah, just I can start with thinking about kind of where we've gotten to this point. Like,
Mhm.
so
do you share any information about the woman in blue, Zeitweber? Is Mars capable of kind of conveying anything about her to you?
yeah, um, I can really understand, and our communication is more. I wouldn't call it, I think, telepathic, but like specific thoughts and ideas I will get. It won't just be. It's not just like pictures and images. It like
Right.
specific communication can come through, even if it's not like language.
And so
Um,
just to sort of figure this out, I was thinking about this earlier today. Like the way that we run Mars, Mars seems sometimes sort of half controlled by you and half controlled by me. Um, I have some ideas for things that maybe Mars could convey to you. Do you want me to sort of tell you those things, or do you want to sort of make up some of the stuff?
no, I think that totally works. Yeah, because I like the idea that I have some control over it, but
Yeah,
because of the origin of this being, like
yeah,
I can't have total control. But I would probably want to ease into it a little bit and just talk to her. So like, well, here we are. It's been now months, if only days have passed. But before this getting mixed up with this priest and this cop, Some grad student trying to get a job at Harvard.
So Mars gives you her opinion of everybody, and her opinion is the sort of opinion that you would get from a cat. She's not really impressed by any of your group, and there's a sort of begrudging respect between you and Mars, and she recommends that you find another band of friends, another band of humans to hang out with. But if you're gonna hang out with someone to do like interdimensional kind of adventures, I guess they'll do if that's the sort of thing that you're into.
Yes, you really are the wise one, aren't you, little kitty?
And she
But
completely agrees with you.
but they're all right. The priest has a great direction in life, perhaps, and our cop will always find us food. And I certainly have nowhere else to go, and I need to hitch my star on something.
And she basically gives you a mental and somewhat physical shrug, as if to say, well, I guess if it's the best you can do, yeah, I suppose they're all right if you're into humans and all that.
We certainly would have had a better time of it had we had been able to travel. We would have been in Switzerland for the premiere of L'Histoire. We would have been there to see it. Stravinsky right there in the room.
When you say this, you can kind of see that there's a rhythm to her stride now as she moves beside you, and you sort of notice, being the finely tuned musician that you are, that she is following along with some of the beats and some of the notes of the music that you're referring to. And then she gives you a few flashes from your adventures. And so I assume that even when she's not around, she kind of sees what you see. Is that correct? Kind of?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you.
I maybe not sees them. I think she can just know my experiences, have it being so intertwined in my life. So yeah.
Where does she go when she's not around?
Well, to look in the background a little bit of her, she is tied to this pocket watch. And I mean, interdimensionally within the vessel, or something else, or just discorporates, or
Sure.
steps
Yeah.
behind the curtain, as it were. Like those are going to be like things I'm not going to know.
Okay, because I didn't know how much she shared, because I had sort of envisioned her as sort of like when she goes someplace, she's going to another life or something like that, or perhaps she just sort of winks out from moment to moment. It's totally up to you. We can play with that as we go with the game, but she actually,
I'm sorry, she's actually sort of like, in my skeptical mind, loosely coupled with the watch.
yeah,
To where when I got the watch, which I probably will talk about once we get a little further, I picked her up as a stray, it would seem. And she's traveled with me and been, my companion and helper, and we have this very close relationship that, she seems to be just her own cat. But, I know from our interaction and how she is, just that there's more to it than just finding a cat in the road.
cool. So as you make your way through the streets, she keeps right up with you, following that rhythm with the music. You realize that she is kind of like, she's basically on your wavelength. She's tuned into your brain waves, and she's like one with you in a way when she exists. And you can kind of feel this tugging every so often at the pocket watch, as if there's some sort of, obviously there's not a leash between the pocket watch and her, but there is a connection there, the one that you just stated. So you kind of feel the weight, like every so often, of her there on the watch. And I feel the weight of my own cat that just knocked over a beer bottle that I put on the ground, so I'm not going to put it on the top. Luckily, it was completely consumed, but at any rate, so as you're moving along, you head towards the Symphony Hall. Tell us a little bit about, as you enter the hall, or are you going in the front way, the back way, the side? Or
I want to walk around to the front, and probably look at any signage they have hanging out, and stop and experience this building I haven't been around for so long.
So what you notice immediately is that it is actually it looks. I don't want to say that it looks abandoned, because abandoned makes it seem as if absolutely no one is there. But it looks like it's not been used very much, and you're sort of as of late, and you're sort of reminded of the fact that the pandemic, the so-called Spanish flu, which is incorrectly named because it started, many people feel, in the United States. The Spanish flu, the pandemic, has caused performances to be canceled, thinned out, and it's now basically not been used in quite a while. The marquee, which would normally sort of denote what shows are coming up or performances, is blank, and there's not very much on it. It looks as if the place is kind of deserted, relatively speaking.
Well, it's true. The world is turned upside down, and all my life has been gone. It's suspended from this war, suspended from this virus. The season is gone. My mentor is gone. The conducting of this orchestra, well, frankly, will now be shit. It'll take decades to recover what we've grown upon so much early in this century. These new ways will just be back in the past. It'll be set regardless of our experimentation. It's just gone, Mars. It's all gone.
And stepping up and into the doors, you open those doors, and they creak open, in revealing a darkened lobby. The lights off, as if, again, it hadn't been in use in weeks or maybe months or almost years, judging by looking around. You enter the lobby, and your footsteps are softened by the beautiful red rug beneath your feet and the tapestries on the walls. The place looks essentially abandoned. Who was it that you were actually coming to look for, if you were coming to look for someone?
Oh, certainly no one. Really just to be back in the space, just to look on the stage.
And you take a deep breath and walk back past the lobby, around the velvet ropes that are now just standing as if they were statues and no longer functional, moving past them into the actual hall itself, where you open up the doors, revealing darkness. And maybe because you've been here quite a few times, you sort of sneak your way around and go down the hall farther, find the spot where you can throw the lights, and you light the hall up and head back inside. And now you can kind of see, and as you look around, you hear the ghostly music of different symphonies, of different movements, of different composers, of different conductors, of different orchestras as they play. Is there anything in particular you're looking for here?
No, it's to try to really just this is a step into the past to I mean, we've been in this for how long now? How long has the war been going on? How long's the
Years.
virus been going on?
Yeah.
At least since
Yeah.
the end of this past season,
Yeah.
the symphony has been closed down. So even if there would have been a brief intermission before the season would come anew, it's months and months since I would have been able to experience any of that, especially with having been gone just now. So it's really just a reverie moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to just turn and move on and head down to Muck's old place.
And Muck's old place is not there in the Symphony Hall, is that correct?
Not inside, no. It'll be, I don't know, probably a quarter mile or something away, like a nice apartment that doubles as a studio for him.
And as you turn around, you hear a loud ticking coming from behind you on the stage.
I reflexively grab for my watch And then I'm going to turn.
Is still there, and as you turn, what you see is the woman in blue sitting on a stool in the center of the stage, spotlit, and you hadn't noticed this before, but a spotlight was on, but there was definitely no woman in blue. This Zetweber, if that is indeed her name, seems to be sitting there, and she's holding in her hands a pocket watch, and it's now ticking so loudly, and this doesn't make sense because she's on the other end of the hall on the stage, so loudly that you can actually hear it from where you are at. And the weird thing, though, is it's you, being the musically inclined person that you are, know the ticking, the steady 1 second tick, tick, tick of a watch, and this is actually speeding up. And then you start to hear more sounds of ticking, but they're not coming from the center of the stage. They're coming from all over in the orchestra pit. And what you realize is that this steady ticking is coming at different rates and tempos and other words I don't understand about music, and they're coming together as a musical selection. And there in the center, leaning, moving with the music, holding on to her pocket watch, is Zetweber. And now you recognize that music, but you're not really sure where it's where you recognize it from. It's nothing you think you've heard, or maybe you have.
Yeah, I'd be immediately intrigued, because I'm very interested in music that I've never heard before, and it's kind of part of what I'm chasing.
There's something, as you listen, very familiar about it.
Under my breath, especially at this distance, so that I know she wouldn't hear with the noise and all that, just, Mars, maybe just keep an eye on us out of sight.
And Mars, who was there at your foot the whole time, slips off between a row of chairs, and you know that, like oil moving across water, Mars is moving through those chairs, probably trying to get a good angle, maybe a little flanking maneuver. The hunter in Mars is coming out now as she moves to sort of keep an eye out for you.
Great. Yeah, I'm going to move towards the stage.
Simply keeps rhythm with the music, which increasingly sounds more and more familiar. But you don't know where it's from. And then when you approach and get closer to the stage, you can hear as if there are ticking stopwatches where the orchestra pit, where the orchestra should be. And each one is sort of making sounds like that instrument, which would be in that place. But that's kind of strange, and they're all ticking along at different rates and different times. And she stands up, and she now makes eye contact with you, and as if she were conducting this orchestra, she's moving her hands back and forth.
I will stay a while and listen. I will cross my arms and put on an interested air.
The music continues, and it's a long piece at, I don't know how long, 10, 12 something minutes, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then crashes to an end. And then with that, suddenly all the ticking of the clocks dies down, and if that is indeed her, takes a bow, and you hear, that can't be right, applause behind you. And when you turn, however, there's no one in the audience, no one in those seats. And then that dies down.
I applaud, not energetically, but appreciatively, briefly.
She moves up to the edge of the stage, and she tosses herself, in a way, down onto the edge, sitting her butt on the corner and swinging her feet in front of her. And she looks directly at you in the eye. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. It would seem your composition is 13 years too early, perhaps?
13 years too early, you say?
It might
Whatever
be.
do you mean?
I could only refer your ideas to one of our contemporaries now so that they might write it later.
Oh, we're metagaming. Okay.
No, I'm just
Oh, I
making
get it.
connections.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I know nothing about music, and I'm talking to a guy who's who is 100% musician, and I'm trying to hold my own. But anyway,
I'm very interested in this story. I just want to try and connect it with some future music history for fun, but that's all.
So she looks at you. You have been a very bad boy, unfortunately, and as a duly designated member of the Clockmakers Union, I have been sent here to give you a citation. I am so sorry about this. And she hops off the edge of the stage, reaches into her blue coat pocket, and I'm going to allow you, because, we're in a game. How do you want to take this as she reaches in?
I am just have my normal wide gaze, and I'm just locked eyes, waiting for what she's going to present.
Pulls out what looks to be some sort of notepad, licks her finger, and then flips through what look like pages made from light, tears one off, hands it to you. Consider yourself sighted, my friend. You can pay that in the normal places, but I warn you, if there is any more interdimensional travel without paying the licensing fee, and that fee is collected on a yearly basis. I understand sometimes there are some of us who do not, as we learn of Vagavar, we do not always know the rules here, but that fee is paid on a yearly basis. You will find the address there at the top of the citation. And she taps it, and looking at this piece of paper that also seems as if it's made out of light, the language is that Vagavurian language that you've seen quite a few times, scrawled on the tombs beneath the Old North Church, and also in some of the books in Mr. Haley's office. As you kind of rub your eyes, it sometimes looks like English, but then goes right back, snaps right back to being Vagavurian. Thank you. And she gets up as if to walk away.
What are the penalties for ignoring such a missive?
Well, of course, it will go on your record, you see, and it will go toward future movement between here and Vagavar, or perhaps any other dimensions that you choose to move between. We will, unfortunately, at a certain point, have to come for you and take away the watch. And she looks out into the seats, and you kind of get the feeling that maybe she's looking for Mars.
I don't know that I feel I've had a choice in this, and I rejected it.
Well, you can file the proper papers with the board. The address, and she walks right back up to you. The address is there at the top of the paper, and then she turns and starts to walk away again.
Okay. I drop it to the floor, and
she doesn't see you do it.
Yeah, I drop it to the floor and say, I'd been hoping for something more than just bureaucrat, but
Is that
proven its
James
way.
the player metagaming now, or is that Vesper?
No, it's Vesper just said it.
I've been waiting for 2 weeks since Thanksgiving, and I got a citation.
Yeah, right.
That's what Matt planned for me. He's fining me? My character doesn't even have money.
Now
And
that
then
you've
rolling it
driven
up.
me back into the real world, then yes, that is pretty
All
fun.
right.
But
Right.
in the actual game world, Vesper truly does drop it and say, because this is a very mysterious figure during a very mysterious time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, a bureaucrat from this fanciful world.
I know, right?
He's
right.
a little, as an artist, he's a little disappointed.
And as a gamer, I disappoint on so many levels.
It's fun. It's just the first. They can't all be dragons and fairies.
Right, I know, right? Never let it be said that I'm like the David Mamet of game masters. Like every little boring detail is just like totally in there.
I say that, and then I just turn on my heel and call out, "Come, Mars! It's time to move on after our moment of reverie has been ruined by paperwork."
So Mars comes skittering out from underneath the seats, and as she does so, she gives you that look like there's something very untrustworthy here. And she looks up, not at Zeitweber, but at her feet, as if maybe, well, I won't say more than that.
I'll glance back if I always have a note of it, like Mars's judgment's unimpeachable. Like if she's really noticing something, I want to know what's going on.
Go ahead and make an intellect roll on this one.
All right. Yeah, I'd say due to Mars's interest, I'm going to expend effort on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can use, what do you call it? My focus, my 2 weeks, and I blanked on the term.
Oh, that's all right.
Effort?
What? Effort?
The other thing.
So you lose an effort?
The object
Asset.
or asset.
Oh, an asset. Yeah, that's okay.
For an asset, I want to use just the fact that Mars is actively perceiving this and use that.
Yeah, that's fine. So Mars is like kind of...
Would my identifying skill apply to this?
Sure, why not? We don't even have to look it up. We'll just use it. That's more fun.
I don't think there is a definition, but that's what I have.
Yeah.
All right. And that's what it's going to be.
Go ahead and make your roll.
Nope. That was falling on the floor.
Task is eased by 3. Oh, this is where the player cheats. Oh, it fell on the floor. It was a 20. Go ahead.
Well, you're going to be sorry.
Oh, yeah? When I really roll a 20.
When I roll a 13.
Is that what you rolled?
Yeah, 13.
For a moment, it looks like a shadow, and it flashes. She's got a wolf with her, a wolf companion. And actually, not just that, surrounding the wolf, there seem to be other members of the pack with her. And they're all kind of filing around up the aisle, leaving. And it's just a ghostly flash that you see. But what you basically figure is that you've just seen her equivalent to Mars. And she doesn't have just one Mars. She has many.
I am going to kneel down as we're both looking at this. And I kind of have the habit of like taking on the same body language of Mars as she's doing that, like the cock the head kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I give her a little scritch. Well, I wonder what she pays for all of those.
Mars looks at you as if she's a little jealous that she looks at you like that meme where like there's the guy like holding on to his girlfriend and another girl like passes by and does like a double take. Mm-hmm. Mars is like, why are you looking at the wolves? But Mars clearly sees them. And Mars is not happy about them. And so with that, you're going to head to Karl Muck's residence. So let's do this. It's 9:30. Let us take a break. And just in the interest of kind of moving things along, just so that I can keep everybody going, when we come back, we'll go to either Murphy or we'll go to TBD. Yeah, I know. It's like really confusing to look around. And hopefully then we'll bring us all back together. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a 10-minute break. So please do, if you like what you're watching, or if you feel so inclined, please do hit the like and subscribe button. It would be awesome to have you watch us every week. It would be awesome to have likes. It'd be awesome to feel validated in what we're doing, even though we are all having fun, and that's the whole point. So please do hit the like or subscribe button. We will be back in 10 minutes. Here is a lovely countdown to take you through those 10 minutes with music composed by E. John Stone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We have taken our biological break. We have replenished our stock of refreshments and of snacks, and now we are ready to continue. So in the first half of the big program, so the group is split up. They have just arrived back from Vagaver to talk to Dr. Farley about possibly pursuing Harold Coatsworth III. They have chosen to split up to check in on their own lives. So Ezekiel has chosen to check in on his life and let Monsignor Fry, his advisor, know that he plans to take a leave of absence from the school, something he calls a pilgrimage, in order to complete his mission, his greater mission for Vagaver. Beneath me here, Vesper Evenwing has gone back to the Boston Symphony Hall just to sort of smell the air one more time. He's found the hall abandoned, essentially, because of the pandemic sweeping the nation, shows having been canceled. And there he meets someone who has been following him here since he's arrived back on Earth, Zeitweber, who ends up giving him a citation for unfortunate and unapproved movement between Vagaver, interdimensional movement between Vagaver and Earth. Were you going to add something there? I saw you pulled your...
Interdimensional parking lot attendant.
Yes, basically interdimensional red tape technician. Never let it be said that I skimp on the details here. Very realistically run game here. So now, after having been given his citation, we're going to move on to our other two characters who need to tie up loose ends in their lives. They've been gone for 2 months now in Earth time, but only about 24 hours in Vagaverian time. Who'd like to go next? Who'd like to face the music, so to speak?
It's all you, Murph. Mine's gonna be easy. It's all you.
We should have decided this during the break, but we were too busy having fun.
We were too busy joking about it. Yeah, that's yeah, because we're not having fun now.
This is work.
I know, right? Yes, that the check is in the mail for all four of you.
We're in the citation simulator.
That's right. That's correct. Just to let everyone know, I am paying my friends for this. I want everybody to know I'm paying them each $1 million, and I've sent a check in the mail to each one of them. It is dated after my death.
We can get back to that, but I haven't gotten it yet. So.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be there. It's
in
probably
the mail?
It's probably someone dropped it and it's bouncing along the conveyor belt where it's going to be sorted and returned to sender because I didn't put postage on it. So Murphy, let's talk about you. What are you up to, Murphy?
I am limping away down to South Boston, and I'm trying to pull up a map right now so I have some semblance of idea what I'm talking about. I'm actually first because
I know what you're feeling.
You know, we're heading to about noontime.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cross the Fort Point Channel at Summer Street because I need to check in at the office of the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad to find out what they think might have happened to me, and if in fact I still have a job with them. And it's going to be a nice leg stretch, but again, I'm got a slight limp. Just going to enjoy the earthly breeze as I walk south to the rail yard.
Right. And so, can you tell us and fill the viewers in a little bit here? You are a night watchman, a security guard. I think there are sometimes called a night knocker as well. And you basically take care of. Well, you tell. I don't want to tell people. You tell us a little bit about that, and tell us about the establishment that you work for.
It's mainly a security job. Obviously, it's wartime, and there's all kinds of different things flowing in and out of the rail yard
Hmm.
and to the docks at the east side of South Boston. And these companies, they require certain amount of security to make sure things aren't pilfered, stolen, otherwise disappeared. And so I often work nights. I sometimes work days. It's just a job patrolling the yard, finding undesirables or suspicious characters, and just trying to run them off. Not not in an overtly violent way, but kind of in a friendly. You got to move along. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3". I'm pretty heavy.
Hmm.
I have a wonderful now specialization in intimidation that I like to flex on occasion. So it really works to my advantage. It's good. And honestly, we've had a number of supervisors roll through recently.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent guy, his name is he's from the neighborhood. It's O'Brien. It's a traditional Irish name, like Conan.
Wait.
or something like that.
Wait. Let's straighten this out here, because I remember you invented a name in the first half, and I took the effort to write this down. You invented the name of Lenny Shaw. Now, that was for the police representative.
Lenny worked with me in the Boston Police Department.
Got it.
Yep.
But this fellow, can you tell me his name one more time?
Yep. It's Conan O'Brien. It's a very traditional Irish name.
Well, look at it this way. Maybe this is going to go viral. Conan O'Brien is going to hear his name being mentioned. He's going to retweet the entire 3-hour adventure. People are going to watch the entire 3-hour adventure, and we're going to have thousands of Conan O'Brien fans, if not millions, watching us on a weekly basis, and then promptly unsubscribing from us when they realize that we have nothing to do with Conan O'Brien.
Look, I rolled the D100, and on the top 100 Irish names, Conan came up.
No way. Okay. All right. You sold me. That's it.
Right.
You sold me.
Total randomness.
So
is that a 0 or a 100?
Right. That's the thing. Was it a 00 or a 0, or was it a 10 that you multiplied by 10? Anyway.
So, anyways, he's the current supervisor.
Yeah.
For and I need to look at this, NYNHHRR.
Thanks a lot for making it easy for me to remember, Frank. Yeah. The NYNHHRR?
Yeah, that's Hartford. RR, Railroad.
New Hampshire, Hartford. Okay. Oh, all right.
New York,
now
New Haven.
All right.
Hartford Railroad.
Yeah. All right. It may be hard for our viewers to get this, but we grew up on the East Coast. We grew up in New England, so we kind of get what he's talking about. So the NYNHHRR.
That could be an Easter egg.
There we go. That's an Easter egg. You've now contributed an Easter egg to our program. So walking into these offices, tell us a little bit about what the offices look like.
They're fairly clerical. I mean, they're very utilitarian. They're just part of one of the buildings right in the factory district. But that's where we're dispatched from, and this is where we check in and get our pay from. It's nothing exciting. And I will roll in, walk up a flight of stairs, and just open the door to Mr. O'Brien's office.
Mm-hmm. So there's a general hustle and bustle to what's going on. So the funny thing, though, is that as you move through the building and the offices, you notice that there is a line that is formed outside the building, and the line is snaking its way up into the building, all the way around up a stairwell, and you are following this line, which is sort of following your path, and you're not sure if you're following the line or the line's following you, because by the time you make it up to the 3rd floor, where Mr. O'Brien's office is at, you can smell the cigar smoke as he chomps down on that, and you know that you're in Mr. O'Brien's territory right now. You can smell that cigar smoke as you step up and notice the line ends or curves around into Mr. O'Brien's office, And the first thing you're greeted by as you take a step up into the hallway is Mr. O'Brien's voice. "You're hired, sir. Just what I need." His deep rumbling bass. "Can you start tonight?" "Yes, sir, I can start tonight." "Excellent, then. Excellent. Here you go. Go ahead down to the second floor. They'll get you outfitted down there. Go right ahead. Next!" And with that, it's almost like the cartridges in a magazine as they're feeding in a rifle, or in a I'm sorry, the bullets in a magazine. Did I say the cart? The bullets in a magazine as they're feeding through the magazine. There's a clunk, and everybody takes one step forward, and that fellow, looking very happy, wet behind the ears, comes out holding hat in hand, puts it back on his head, and he's like, "I got the job, guys. I got the job. They're hiring like crazy. They got to replace people oh my goodness." And he goes down the hall, and you sort of make your way past and peek into Mr. O'Brien's office, where there's another
I'm just going to push my way in. This is familiar territory. I've been working here for a decade.
Where there's another gentleman who has just taken a seat in Mr. O'Brien's office. Mr. O'Brien takes his cigar, chomps down on it, takes a deep drag. "So, son, tell me a little about something. Tell me about yourself. Have you ever shot someone before?" The man kind of looks up and, "Shot? You mean on purpose?" "Well, it'll do. Accidentally, that'll do." He's like, "Well, accidentally." And he starts telling a story about how he shot his father out on a hunting expedition when he was younger.
This is an awkward conversation, so
And then
I'm just going to butt in and say, "Yeah, hey, boss."
And as you say that, he's about to say, "And the second time I accidentally shot someone." And Mr. O'Brien looks up when you say, "Hey, boss." He's like, "Son, hold on just a moment. Who are you?" "I remember you. I fired you in absentia about 2 months ago. Isn't that correct? Didn't you get the memo? You're out of here."
I didn't get the memo. No memo. And now, as an aside, my character Murphy is he feels he's a good character, but there's a certain moral ambiguity about him. So we're going to see how this plays out right here. Back in the character.
Let's see. Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Boss, Mr. O'Brien. About 2 months ago, I took that job you helped me get up at Fenway. And then immediately I came down with the grip. And I was interred at the Peter Bent Brigham Hospital up at Harvard. And they kept me there for a while as I got through the Spanish flu. I finally got out.
When you say this, he's covering up his mouth. And he walks over to the windows and he starts undoing the windows. And he's leaning towards the windows as if to get a breath of fresh air. And
those nurses.
And the same thing is happening with the young fellow that's sitting in the seat between you two. And he's like,
"I just wanted to let you know that I didn't leave my position. I was infirm. And right now, as a character, I will roll to see how this plays out."
Wow, okay. So you're going to try to use intimidation, or are you trying to use something else?
I'm going to use persuasion. Intimidation isn't what you use with your boss if you want to continue some sort of form of employment.
Sure.
Instead, I will use my persuasion, which I am only trained in.
Okay.
But
so that lowers your difficulty by 1.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And I will also apply 1 level of effort from my intellect side, street smarts, not wisdom. Okay. I want to be absolutely clear on that.
I got it.
And then
don't worry, no one's going to think you're wise.
As an asset, I am going to roll up my sleeve
Yeah.
and just show him
Oh, I like this.
my strangely, from all that food I ate in Vagaver
Mm-hmm.
and all the weird, it's only been 24 hours, but my body is strangely thick and firm.
Is that thick
And
with 2 C's or is that thick
yes,
CK?
yes, solid. It's
Got
you
it.
thick.
Got it.
So I'm giving him my forearm and implying that he should have a feel, see how the disease has changed me.
So he leans
made
forward
me-
and he, with his face still firmly out the window, he leans forward and he squeezes your firm arm, and go ahead and make your roll. And the task is eased by 3.
I rolled a 16.
So a 16. He takes a moment to sort of size up the situation.
I want to make this easy. I'm not asking
You've got his attention.
for any back pay. And I'm not looking to necessarily work right away because I still need to recover, is my understanding of the situation. But I want to know that I have a position to come back to because I've served this railroad for many years, faithfully and successfully, running off all kinds of vagrants and bums. Or should I say hobos? Is that the PC term?
Anachronism, the term PC has not been invented in 1918. I'm docking you by 1 XP point. But thank you for playing. Here's a copy of our home game. So
Worth it.
Yeah, right. So with that, he narrows his eyes, and he looks down at this fellow, and he goes, "Son, you got to know how to make decisions. What do you think? Should I give this schlub another chance?" He looks up. "Well, my father gave me another chance, even the second time I shot him. So, yeah?" And he looks very kind of like meek as he says this. Mr. O'Brien narrows his eyes. "All right, then. But I'm docking your pay. Because I vouched for you for about a week. I got a week's worth of shifts that I had you on when you disappeared. Following that, I just had to cut you at a certain point. I don't know if you should have gotten it, but I had your old buddy, I forgot what his name is, but I had your old buddy leave a note in your stuff. And actually, as a matter of fact, I claimed a bunch of it, to be honest. I got it. If you head down to the Lost and Found, maybe on level 1, you'll find most of it except for the valuable stuff. That stuff, I don't know what happened to it. But, sorry, I'm trying to stay in character.
It was really smooth.
But, having said that, sure, you're hired, but you owe me at least a week's worth of shifts for free.
I can do that. But like I said, I need still a little time to recover. Sorry.
And when you say that, he pops that window open and he leans out. And he's just got his head, and he's like waving his arms around. And now you can kind of see that he's like, oh, he's really worried about those germs.
Fair.
He's got the heebie-jeebies over here, and he like actually pulls his cigar out and takes a deep draw. He's like, "I heard that smoking can help, but all right, we'll see." So tell me this: you're rehired. You gotta wait for how long before you get back on duty?
At least a couple weeks. The nurses said I have to rest.
Son,
I have to rest.
Did you pass by that line outside? Did you see everyone down there? How many people? He turns to the guy that's sitting between you. How many people would you say out there? How many? Yeah, how many? Like if you were gonna count and guess, how many? A lot? No, but give me a number, son. Give me a number. You want to be in the security business now. You gotta give me a number. Like when you see somebody, a perpetrator, doing a bad thing, you gotta be able to count the number of perpetrators. You gotta be able to count the number of things that they steal. You gotta be able to count how tall they are, their height. How many people out there? I don't know, 60 or 70? 60 or 70.
321.
Not even close. You see, this fella down here is sharper than you, and that's why you're right here right now, buddy. You want a couple weeks to come back to work for me?
Yes, sir.
All right. But I'll tell you something. You're lucky you had a cop come by and vouch for you earlier. If it weren't for that guy, he was looking for you. And I'll tell you something. He's the only reason why I vouched for you. He vouched for you, and then he vouched for you with me, and then I had to vouch for you with my bosses for a week. You're lucky.
Which cop was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Which cop? Which cop? Son, look at me. Do I look like the sort of guy that keeps records of the number of cops that come around here? And he looks at you. He looks over. Shakes him. I don't know. Is this a trick question? He looks to you, Murphy, for help. What should I tell him?
Just nod.
He nods. That's correct, son. I am that sort of person. So, his name, the name of this fella that came by earlier, and you may recognize this fella's name, Sullivan Byrne, came by looking for you. That's it. That's the end of my statement as a game master. You got to answer that now. Otherwise, you're leaving me hanging. You're making me look silly in front of all the viewers, the 7,000 Conan O'Brien fans that are watching right now.
Sullivan Byrne?
Sullivan Byrne. See, I can make up names too.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll be back, sir. I'll send word when I'm ready to come back.
So with that, he sort of grumbles and he lets you go. And just to let you know, Sullivan Byrne is someone that you have heard of before. And he was an older, well, he would be kind of older now. He's relatively older than you. You would have recognized him as sort of a rough and tumble figure. Not exactly a legend, but he's kind of like the boogeyman of the police force. Like, he was known for some pretty heavy, hard-hitting ways. And so hearing Sullivan Byrne's name might actually, this is not something you have to roll for, but hearing Sullivan Byrne's name, it gives you a bit of the willies there, because why would Sullivan Byrne be looking for you? He was known as kind of one of the rougher, like I said, rough and tumble.
Is he the one, when they say good cop, bad cop, he's the bad cop?
He's the bad cop, and he's the bad cop for real. He's the cop that nobody wants to be partners with. And he sort of operates beyond the law in a way, and he's known for doing some dirty deeds and things like that. But Byrne was looking for you. And this is something that your former boss explains to you. And
it's a little worrisome.
I don't know, son. That's something you got to figure out with your friend. But luckily, I'll tell you something. If it hadn't been for him coming to see me and then explaining that you were actually somebody that I could trust, but perhaps you were a bit misguided at the moment, I'm telling you, I don't know. All right. You come back and see me when you are ready, and I can't guarantee to have work on that night, but don't you forget, you owe me a week's worth of shifts.
Yes, sir. And with that, I'll turn and walk out past a row of jamokes.
So as you walk out, you can kind of see everybody sort of impressively sort of looking at you, because you were the one that managed to cut in on this guy who had been shouting at people, throwing them out, bringing them in, hiring them, and just generally intimidating everybody. And as you step out and close the door behind you, you hear the young upstart applying for a job as he says, well, do you want to hear about the third time I shot my father, or is the second time okay? And the door closes. And is there anything else you want to kind of get to at this point?
No, at this point, I'm going to just head back to my row house at 99 D Street
Mm-hmm.
at Old Colony Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a flop house by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of us working stiffs we live there. And I just want to check to make sure I still have a bunk in place and probably settle in for the evening
Mm-hmm.
and get ready for the next day meeting my new friends
Mm-hmm.
for a cup of Joe up at the trolley stop.
So let's try and let's do this a little quick because I do want to kind of get through this part. I do want you to at least sort of make it home and see. So heading back to your home, we'll do this in a bit of an abbreviated fashion just to sort of move the pace.
Fast forward.
Yeah, move things along kind of quickly here. Heading back home, unfortunately, you find when you make it up to what floor are you on? You're at like a home for wayward men who are working night security jobs and are down on their luck. Is this correct? Can I assume?
Yeah,
that
share a
that's...
room up on the second floor.
Okay.
It's a
And
5-story building.
you had mentioned to me the name of a roommate, but I don't really, at this point, it's not really important necessarily. But do you have a roommate or are we sharing bunks?
Yeah,
with...
we have. Actually, there's 4 guys who stay in the same room.
Yeah.
There's one that I'm closer to,
Yeah.
and I can't even remember his name right now. We've been through such crazy adventures.
Call him NPC number 1.
Yes.
Norman
But I would
Peter
roll in.
Charles. Norman Peter Charles the first.
Sounds right.
So Norm has been there at the house for a while, and those 4 men that you were saying that you share the room with, you basically have a really good, nice, strong relationship because 2 of them work the day shifts and 2 of them work night shifts. So you're able to kind of switch off and on, and you sort of make sure to get your schedules kind of in order a week or 2 out from your time. And it's the sort of place that you're renting. You've moved up a bit. You were renting it by the night before, but now, or at the point that you left last, you were renting it perhaps by the week. And while you make it up to that second floor, you do find Norman Peter Charles the first sitting there shining his shoes. And again, you're kind of lucky because you and Norm worked the night shift, so you were able to kind of like sync up a little bit in that respect. And he looks up and he is shocked to see Murph. Where you been?
Hey. I've been away. I can't explain it.
He coughs. You don't have like grip, do you?
No, I don't.
Good.
I do not.
And he coughs again. I'm glad. That's great. So where you been though? I mean, I put all your stuff in a box for you. Don't worry, most of it. If there's any valuable stuff, I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, that's been the norm lately, strangely enough.
And he sort of reaches under his bed and he pulls a crate out, and the crate's got your name kind of scrawled on the side of it, and he coughingly hands it over to you. And what are you, cold?
I'm gonna mask up. You don't sound too good, Norm.
Oh, I'm fine. I think it's just allergies or something.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure. There you go. Anyway, I'm not sure, but that's stuff as far as I know. I mean, that's everything. And I was just kidding about the valuables.
I'm gonna grab the box. I'm assuming I don't have a place here anymore.
Well, you know, I tried to sort of hold out for you, and I got to be honest. You know, I got to be honest. At a certain point, I to be frank, I actually paid for you for a couple nights just to sort of hold them up at bay. But, you know, at a certain point, I had to cut my losses, and they had to cut their losses, and there's another guy he's
Sure.
sort of moved in on your bunk now, so I'm sorry about that.
It's big of you, Norm. I'm gonna reach in my overcoat and count out. So rent here was $6 a week at the time we got a couple weeks ago. So I'm gonna count out $6 out of my life savings in my pocket, and I'm gonna toss it down to him.
He takes it, and he takes it gratefully. He's like, "Oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you for
No,
that.
thank you, Norm.
But you've gotten me a few night jobs. I appreciate that, but thank you very much. To be honest, at this point, it's been kind of tough. I had to take a few nights off. I'm feeling a little. These allergies are really getting to me, but this will help me out a little bit. So thanks so much.
Be well, Norm.
Thank you. Are you heading out
now?
now?
I'm going to head out. I don't have a place here anymore. I'm taking my box, and I'll find a place for the night.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you sure you're going to be all right? I mean, I don't know. We can't like do a switcheroo here or anything, but I mean, I feel kind of bad. It's getting cold out.
All good. All good.
All right. Okay, you take it easy, buddy.
You too, brother.
And so with that, yeah. Is there anything you want to do further at your now former residence, or?
No, but I will head back north. I'll take the long, trudging way back north. Was it a diner you said?
Yeah, what was it? This is for Ezekiel.
Yeah, Z had
Mickey's Diner.
Mickey's Diner. Those places are open 24 hours, right?
They would be, most likely.
I'm just going to find that place and settle in with a cup of Joe and watch the night file away and see what I see.
All right. So let's then hop over to our fourth and final contestant for tonight's competition. Mr. Dietrich.
Yes, sir.
What are you up to as you depart or disembark from the streetcar? Tell us a little bit about your life. Where are you going?
I'm going back to my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
It's up in, I think it's Back Bay, sort of up by the river area.
Mm-hmm.
I have one roommate. His name is Samuel Garbett V.
I am so glad I wrote that down. I got it. IXP for that. You know what?
See?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Samuel Galvin, that's what I wrote down.
Yeah, all right, good. Back in the olden days, there, when I knew that was kind of falling apart, sort of reached out to my various contacts to kind of make arrangements to move on. And Samuel was one of them. He is the fifth generation of industrial chemists, right? So John Roebuck and Samuel Garbett made the first large-scale commercial factory for sulfuric acid out in Scotland. And I assume that, Garbett III made the way across the pond and expanded the empire into America. Sam Garbett V is entitled and pampered and coming from money, but he's also self-aware.
Okay.
And he knows he doesn't have the intellectual equivalent of his forebears, so he's not going to be able to make any additional contributions that way, scientifically or engineeringly. So he uses the only skills that he had, which is really the personality and the down to earth that he is, and so he's just a salesman. He's a very traveling salesman, and so it worked out well for him because he was also looking for another salesman traveler type to share the apartment with, because that way we'll kind of be one on, one off, and both around, but yet have an understanding that someone will probably be there to help keep the place and things like that.
So the two of you kind of hand off the apartment back and forth a little bit.
Effectively, I mean, it is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, living room, kitchen, but yeah, it's kind of on and off. We don't really expect to both be there for long stretches of time together.
Sure. Makes sense, especially with the price of real estate in Boston these days.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, we actually charge a little bit more a month. They charge us an extra $1 a month because the owner of this particular place really has embraced change and has used it as an asset in his marketing, and the fact that this is the first building, at least on this area of Boston, that has electric washer and dryers.
Nice.
Yeah, electric dryers first started coming around right before the Great War. And so this place has used it as marketing and charging a little bit more, but we have our own laundry downstairs.
Cool. All right. So as you come upon now, this is a brownstone, or is this like a 2 or 3 level like multifamily house that you're staying in, or
Let's go with brownstone.
brownstone? So we'll say it's a brownstone that you share with Mr. Galbert. And as you enter or as you approach the brownstone, I'd like you to make, actually for me, an intellect roll.
Intellect roll. That's an 11.
No adjustments here, and I'll let you retroactively try and ease the task.
Okay, what am I attempting to do with this?
See, this is
what is it?
This is the thorn in my side as far as like learning to use the cipher system. There is no passive perception that I am aware of, or perhaps if there's someone out there that knows how to do passive perception, out of all the Conan O'Brien fans watching right now, please, in the comments, let us know. Honestly, I'm just trying to see if you pick up on somebody that may be hanging out.
Okay. Well, I am trained in perception.
Okay.
And
That'd
I
ease it.
have the curious, which may not work in this way, but I can use a free effort of navigation, perception, or initiative in an area I've rarely or never visited, but that's probably not going to work here.
Yeah, I would say that
it has been a while.
I'll give you the curious option there, and with
right.
that, you would actually notice someone is following you.
Okay.
And someone's been
following me from the when I got off the train.
They have been following you since you got off the streetcar. Yeah. And you weren't really sure at first, but you're definitely picking up on that now. They're doing a rather clumsy job, if you do say so yourself.
All right. Do I think I've seen this person before, or I just really noticed that they...
You're not really sure who it is, but you can kind of tell where they are. They're hiding behind a set of stairs in front of a brownstone a few doors down from you.
I'm going to try and lose him. I'm going to pass my apartment, see if I can make my way elsewhere.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you're going to lose this person.
Just a lot of weaving in between traffic, down back alleys, effectively just trying to break line of sight and then constantly change direction.
Mm-hmm. So now it's getting closer to noon at this point, and so the streets are busy with foot traffic and even vehicular traffic. And go ahead and make a roll. I'm going to count that as an asset. Go ahead and make a roll to see if you can lose this person. Unless you want to add effort or...
I don't know about effort yet, but can I use training in speed defense?
Sure. I like this. Sure, why not?
As a way to be mobile and move around.
Yeah, you can kind of quickly thread your way between, members of the crowd. Absolutely. So I'm easing the task by 2 at this point.
See if there's anything else in here real quick.
Just to let the audience know, Jared is our resident rules lawyer and min-maxer, so he will try to bleed that stone.
And you know what? I will actually go ahead and use 1 point of effort.
Are you 1 point of effort as in... Okay, got it.
Or to ease it one direction. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That was actually a natural 20.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, it's our first special roll of the night. So just to let everybody who's watching at home know, So when when a player rolls a 20, they get what's called a major effect. So if it's an attack, then they deal 4 extra points of damage, or they get a minor or major effect. For regular rolls that are non-combat, the player gets a minor or a major effect. So tell us what you would like to do with this roll.
First thing I'm going to do is order a milkshake at Frank's place. Look at that background. Secondly,
he has at a diner right now.
That's right. What I want to do is maneuver it such that as my tail gets close, a disruption happens, and I make it so that he gets blamed for the disruption. Whether it's knocking groceries out of somebody's hand or whatever it is, he gets effectively blamed for it, and so the crowd is now accusing him of doing this action, and he gets in trouble for it.
So as you're threading your way through, you make the traditional pass past a fruit stand or a fruit cart, which you knowingly kick loose just as your shadow passes in front of it, and it comes crashing down on top of him. You disappear into the crowd, and the produce person that is selling their fruit or selling their foods, because we're now in the cold of November, or they immediately go on the defensive and start to sound off on your pursuer. And crowd members, people in the neighborhood, form around them, form a circle, and they're jostling to get at this person and accusing them of trying to steal fruit. You don't quite see who it is, but it does do the trick, and you are now not being pursued.
Okay, great. Then I will spend, I don't know, another half hour or so kind of meandering around, double backing, making sure I'm not followed, and then take a sort of a longer way back home.
And so you're easily able to do that. For a 20, without a doubt, you can do that. No problems at all, and you make your way home.
Okay.
Okay, so as you step up onto the brownstone, you enter, and you are hit by just the most wonderfully pleasant smells. It's that smell that you get, or that sensation that you get when you come home after a long journey, and you are finally at a place where you can rest. And you've only been gone for 24 hours, and of course, you're finding out in Earth time that you've been gone for nearly 2 months. But it doesn't feel like 2 months, but it feels like, oh my gosh, Frank, a lot of cats at that diner, huh? So it doesn't feel like 2 months, but it's definitely longer than 24 hours, and you are so happy to be back. How does your home look?
If it looks the way I left it,
so far it does. Looking around, your key worked in the lock and all that stuff.
All right. It's I don't know. It's sort of a traditional bachelor pad, but yet kept nicer, mainly because we both are supposedly traveling a lot, and so we don't really try to make too much of a mess, and we're not around to kind of live on our own squalor. So just a couple probably two chairs in the living room, maybe a couch, a little bookshelf, probably a radio, right?
Sure.
I don't know. The bedrooms don't have too much more. Bed, maybe a dresser, nightstand, that kind of thing.
It is essentially
Simple
the double
bedroom.
bachelor special.
That's it. That's all it is.
So entering in, you see the door to your roommate's bedroom closed and just slightly ajar, and from inside you can hear the gentle snoring. And you figure that he is in academia as well. Is that correct?
No, he's in the chemical sales.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. And
Yep.
so you get the feeling that either he has been doing some sort of work at night or perhaps he has the day off. And every so often, the snoring kind of goes arrhythmic, and you hear some loud coughing from behind the door. And then the sounds of him turning over and kind of like shuffling the layers of covers over him. If that is indeed him, but this is just sounds that you hear, you assume that it is him. But things seem pretty much the way you left them, except things are a little bit maybe dustier because maybe you were the one that cleaned more or you were the one that took care of things. A lot of your things are still there in their places, but they've been kind of moved out of the way, as if he's just sort of figured you've been gone for months now. Why am I keeping your stuff there? But they're still respectfully, at least in your proper places. Your food has been moved to the sides in the cabinet, and perhaps maybe a photograph that you had hanging is now actually down on the floor and it's been replaced by something else. That photo's gone. But when you enter your bedroom, you find that some of the things that have been moved have been placed on your bed and are just sort of sitting there. So at this point, it kind of looks like, in a way, actually looking around the room, what you see are several crates, as if perhaps he was about to start packing things up for you. And they're all empty, but they are stacked off in a corner of the room, as if maybe he was planning very soon on packing your stuff up. What would you like to do?
It's a good question. I'm gonna let him. I'm gonna let him sleep. I don't want to interrupt, but I might as well go ahead and take a peek if I can through the door, see, just to verify that it really is him.
So peeking around, and you don't even have to roll for this, you peek around the edge of the door, and what you are greeted by is the familiar kind of silhouette or the outline of your roommate under the covers as they toss and turn. And they seem as if they're sleeping, but clearly they're in a sweat, and they're coughing occasionally. The shades have been drawn, and there's kind of a sick smell within the bedroom, and it's that awful smell. It's a mix of stale air, maybe unbrushed teeth for several days, and maybe basically gas. This person, your roommate, you now recognize, does not seem well, or perhaps has not come out of their room in quite a few days. And they seem, I mean, not sound asleep. They're tossing and turning in a sweat, and they're kind of in that sick sort of sleep where they're in a world of their own.
All right. That doesn't really bode well. I'm gonna let him. I'm gonna let him be. I'm not gonna wake him up. I'm not gonna make a noise to let him know that I'm here. I think what I may just do is just take a quick shower, and then pack a bag. Right, we're gonna be theoretically gone for a while, so pack a bag with some extra clothes and some extra things.
So as you start the water in the shower, you get that hot water that Boston is kind of famous for. Like it's just the sewer system is magnifique, and that jet of hot water hits you, and it's just like it's like the warm embrace of a blanket at the perfect temperature, and it just, you almost have trouble staying up on your feet. You're so comforted, and after everything that has happened to you, after all that you've been through, it's so nice to be under the jets of that warm water, until you start hearing a tapping at the window of your bathroom that gets louder and louder. Hey! Hey, hey!
The window, meaning outside the apartment?
Outside the apartment. Mr. Dietrich! Hey!
All right, I guess I will put a towel on and peek outside the window.
Looking outside the window, you immediately recognize Reginald Winthrop looking desperately up at you. He looks like he's been pelted by fruit.
That's worth it.
Poor Reggie. First you couldn't name him, and now you got a fruit cart turned over on him.
All right, I'll tell him to give me a minute, and I'll get dressed, and then I'll go outside and talk to him.
When you open up the window, he's like, he starts to like scramble in. He's like just kicking his feet along the bricks on the outside. He's like, they're gonna find me. I can't come out the front. Let me in. They're throwing fruit at me.
I can't let you in.
He's just trying to push in now. He's not listening to you. He's like trying to get in. He's like pushing himself in. He's not attacking you. He's not being like aggressive, but he's got both of his elbows up over the edge. His chest is in, and like now your towel is in danger of like dropping to the floor. And you got a choice. You can stop him, or you can keep your modesty.
Fine, I'll let him in.
He pulls in and he rolls over, kicking and screaming, and as he, or not kicking and screaming, just kicking and like yelping when he hits the ground. And so when this happens, the window kind of slides down on the sill, and there's that rattling of wood and glass, and then you see a bunch of heads like moving back and forth, and you recognize them from the mob on the street, and you see people with like fruit in their hands, and they're just looking around, and they're like, where'd that little thief go? Where'd he go? And they look up for just a moment at you with your towel, staring down at them, bare-chested, and you see a woman just goes, ew, and like turns away with her fruit, and they all start like walking down as if they're looking for little Reggie. And so now Reggie is like he's like turned around, and he's looking up, and he's like, are they gone? Oh, they're gone. He like peeks out over, oh my God, and he like pulls the shades. Why'd you do that to me?
Why were you following me? Why didn't you ever announce yourself?
What do you mean, why don't I announce myself? I'm not royalty.
No, but if you were trying to talk to me, why are you hiding and following me?
I just wanted to sort of look, I wanted to meet you. Like, I know we bumped into each other before. I saw you around. I know that you're in really well with Dr. Farley. And I thought like there was kind of a connection there. Like, you're doing your research and I'm trying to get a leg up. Well, I mean, he looks back at the windowsill, both literally and figuratively, I guess in this case, I'm trying to get it up. But anyway, so I just thought like I would ask for a little bit of help from you. I was hoping maybe you could honestly give a recommendation to Dr. Farley. I've been trying to get into his class, and it's coming up for next semester. And I thought maybe you could do that. And he like pulls some paper out, and it's been like typed up. And he's like, I wrote the recommendation up myself. And I know that seems awkward, but I just did that because I didn't want you to do all the work, and I wanted you to know I could write a generic kind of recommendation. But if you could you recommend me for his class? Hey, do you always just hang out in your apartment in a towel?
I just give him one of these, and I say,
hey, what's
hang out
that
in the living
smell?
room for 10
And
minutes.
he walks out to the edge of the bathroom, and he's sniffing in your hallway. Oh, man, what's that smell?
Right. That's what I was trying to tell you before. Go hang out in the living room for 10 minutes, and we'll do this somewhere else.
He sniffs and rubs his nose, and then he walks back out into the front. He's like, oh, okay. And you can kind of see him like peek into that bedroom for a moment, and then he disappears around the corner and goes into the living room. At which point you're free to dress yourself. And then I assume, unless there's something else you're doing, you're going to go back out into the living room once you're dressed and pack your bags?
Yeah.
Heading out.
Yeah. Yep, that's fine.
Heading out
Let me get
into
dressed and go out there and deal with them.
Heading out into the living room, you've got, like, I assume a couple of, like, kind of navy duffel bags with you, perhaps, just packed up. I assume that you do this kind of first. And you sit down on the couch, and he's just sort of, like, looking through some of the books that your chemical working friend kind of, like, has been studying up on. And he's like, this is kind of cool. This is pretty neat. So you're a chemical. What do you do? Who do you work for? Do you work for those guys up on the north end? You're gonna teach now, right?
I'm not gonna teach, but I am gonna be working with Dr. Farley.
Oh man, that's great. So you'll be a great person to recommend. And he slaps the letter recommendation down on the table, which he has typed up on a typewriter, and he's like, boy, that's great. So you do chemicals, right? Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have reached... Oh, wait, he just moved. Okay, great. I was worried.
Yep,
so
I'm back.
you do chemicals, right? Is that right?
I'm involved with chemicals. I don't know if I do chemicals.
Oh, wow. So maybe someone like you would be a great person to recommend. Who do you work for?
Right now, I'm going to be working for Harvard.
Oh, okay. But you're not just like doing the teaching thing on the side or something. You're going to get like full pay.
We haven't really worked out all the details yet. It's going to be sort of a field work job.
Oh, wow. That's great. And as he leans over, he starts to sort of show you, like he's like, okay, I wrote this part up here and that part up here, and I think you will agree that this is all very modest. Wouldn't you agree? But if you could just sign here at the bottom, that would be wonderful. That would be very helpful for me, and I can get into Dr. Farley's class. Uh-oh. I think that TBD is having some problems with the transmission just at a key point. He is frozen. I'm hoping he's
Reginald, get into Dr. Farley's class. Find out
next week in the next episode of the Fierce Brood. But the good thing about this is usually when people freeze up, the signal is dropped, and I go to like the Zoom call goes to like 4 boxes, and I have to like switch to the 4 boxes. But for some reason, I guess we're still getting the signal, but unfortunately, we're just not getting. Oh, we just I just
Jinxed it.
I just cursed us. Yeah, so I have to move us to the 4 blocks again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry about that. At a very interesting moment, unfortunately, we lost TBD. However, let's keep things rolling along, and let's head back, perhaps, to, well, why don't we go back and cycle back to Z? And Z, can you tell us a little bit about what, or actually, why don't we talk, I want to talk to all 3 of you and find out what you're generally doing at this point now that you all have a little bit of free time. We can retroactively say that you all agreed to meet up a little bit and check in, or we can do, if there are other things that you want to check on, we can do that as well.
I can fast forward through the rest of my evening. Basically, I'm going to go to my old mentor's place, really to kind of work through what I'm going through now and remember what had been going on. He was Carl Muck, the conductor of the BSO, who, as I was trying to get my way into the musical society of Boston, found in him someone who was of a similar national background. He was born German and is Swiss, and that's my family comes from that, who is here in Boston. So I'm going to slip into his apartment, which is empty because he was interned by the U.S. government as a sympathizer for the Kaiser.
I like this. So would he have left you with the key, or is this Vesper using,
I know where
perhaps...
the hide key is.
Nice.
But it's a little dangerous because I don't know if his place is being watched as a Austro-Hungarian sympathizer that they think he is, even though he's a Swiss citizen with a Swiss passport. So he was removed and has been elsewhere interned for quite a while. So I go in there. I want to, go back into the studio. I'll actually notice the place where I had taken this pocket watch right from beside his metronome and think back on everything we did. Because I'm thinking now, like, to me, as this skeptical person who sees all these occultists as just, what do you call it? Tricksters and charlatans, that now I'm embroiled in this magical world, but I see it as this shared delusion through these drugs we've been partaking in, because it's really at odds with how I'm seeing things. And I sit down as I talk to Mars as she's perched on the piano to play through some things very softly on the piano, and work through some of this, and really realizing that even with everything that's going on, this is the best place for me because there isn't much place here in this world right now. I'm homeless. The musical world is at a pause popularly, and my mentor is gone and I don't have a place to stay. It's too dangerous to be near my family for fear that they too will be interned. So I want to stay away. And then kind of as get lost in that reverie and those realizations, I'm going to suddenly, with a snap, realize that his piano is still in tune. And I get the hell out of there as soon as I can, because it's been months and months now, and that shouldn't really be the case.
So then, as you explore, you do find that, would you call him Carl or Mr. Muck or composer, or what would you, or I'm sorry, not composer,
Maestro
conductor?
Or Carl.
Maestro. Okay, got it. So you find out that the Maestro's apartment, for all intents and purposes at that point, seems to be empty. Or not empty, but seems to not be inhabited. However, when you do start tapping at those keys, you make that realization that actually someone may or may not have been there and may or may not have been keeping the keys, keeping the piano tuned. Which wouldn't make any sense, of course, because after so many months of being left on its own, it should have fallen out of tune with the moisture in the air and just the general effects of the changes in temperature and the changes in weather over time. It should have done that. And any ideas why this might be? Why would it not be in tune? Is there anything you were thinking that...
It really shouldn't be. The last time I had been here had been before he had been, in turn taken by the government, and it was already on its way out. But now it is in tune, which shouldn't... I mean, there's no reason for anyone to have tuned his piano in this empty place. So it's... something's up with it, and it might be watched, or who can say?
Who can say? So thank you for that. So let's fast forward then, and let's continue onward. Steve, would you like to handle what's going on with Z at this point?
Yeah, so in general, after the meeting with the Monsignor, I just went back to my room, sort of packed my things into whatever suitcase or whatever I may have had, and then probably spent some time in the library looking up maybe books or philosophical texts about purgatory, which I'm still convinced is in some manner Vagaver. And then just waiting for the meeting with the what did you say, the rector or somebody?
Yeah, the rector, or I can't remember if I said the rector or the vice rector, but I will go back and I will check the videotape, and I will find out who that was. So, and then Murphy, you are sitting at that diner that was recommended to you before. Is that correct?
Correct. And I'm under the assumption that that is close to Massachusetts Station, which is not too far from Fenway.
Yeah.
We came down from Harvard, and we found a place, and that particular location is just on Newbury by Gloucester Street. And
by
I'm settling
Newbury
in.
Comics these days.
Just settling in for the long night, not gonna go anywhere. I'm used to this. This is my shift, but I am interrupted in the afternoon by a ruckus up on Commonwealth. And it just appears that the general population is out and celebrating. There are flags flying.
This
and
makes
there's
sense.
just a mass of people. Yeah,
what could
they
ever
are
be happening
celebrating.
at this point?
Yep, the announcement and the understanding that the war is over. And it's not a professionally organized parade.
Yeah.
But a mass of people are just out and about and just excited.
People coming out of their homes, mingling and mixing on the streets, looking around. You see every so often that person who's coughing. And now, as of 2 months or so ago, it was just a few people, but now there are enough people that are coughing for you to be a little nervous about what you're seeing here. You know that, of course, Le Grippe is rather controversial, or I should say the true effects of Le Grippe and the causes are rather controversial, as well as the origin. But people do not care at this point, because that armistice, the thing which Z had predicted to Monsignor Fry earlier on in our adventure, has now indeed come true. And each one of you, wherever you happen to be, passing by a newspaper, looking over your shoulder, or looking over to your side on a streetcar as someone's reading a paper, or perhaps picking the paper up yourselves, sees that indeed the armistice has been announced at 11 a.m. The armistice began, and 11 a.m. actually was 12 noon in Germany at that time, but 11 a.m. in the time zone that it was signed in France at that time. And so with that, let's catch up a little bit with Mr. Dietrich, who was at that time. We're kind of summing up here, just really quick, just so that we can kind of start to wrap things up here at the end of tonight's adventure. You had Reggie tapping the paper for you to sign at that point, and looking the document over, it looks, for all intents and purposes, like a recommendation. What say you on this, Mr. Dietrich?
Yeah, no, I want to make sure that it truly is just a recommendation, that there isn't any other legalese hidden in there, and I also want to make sure that there isn't any Vagavurian writing in there.
Yeah. Go ahead and make a roll for this one. Tell me how you want to look at this paper.
All right. Well, I want to use my what is it? Identify skill, and I want to use my decipher ability. What else I got? I think that's all I got. I'll use it too.
Okay. Go ahead and make your roll.
18.
Looking at it, you do a bit of a double take. You get this feeling. Does your character wear glasses? Spectacles?
I don't think so, no.
He does a double take, and for a moment you feel as if maybe it's been a while since you've actually read something. You've been gone for what felt like weeks, but was really only 24 hours. The letters blur, and what you see for a brief instant that may or may not be the exhaustion, you see Vagavurian writing beneath the English, and then it snaps and disappears. And at that moment, Reggie looks up at you, and you register that there is something different about him, as if maybe he was trying to check and see if you noticed this as well, but he's trying to keep his cool.
I'm not going to keep my cool. I'm going to go ahead and pull my weapon.
Which is?
A Colt M1911.
That is correct. Okay, great. So I'm assuming that this weapon was not on a holster on your hip. In honesty, would it have been packed in one of your bags, or would it have been...
I probably would have been a shoulder holster, under the jacket.
Sure. Okay, I'm willing to let my player get away with this. So we'll say that you reach in there and you are able to get it out, and no rolling for initiative at this point. But Reggie does a double take, and his jaw drops, and from your years in academia, being a student yourself and hovering around campuses, you recognize the face of a frightened student. Whoa, what's that about?
I said, Reggie, it's been a long 24 hours. Which side are you on?
He stands immediately and starts to run. So roll for initiative.
Shoot him in the back.
Running down Reggie.
That's right.
And so ends Reginald Winthorpe III.
That's right.
All right.
I am not above shooting someone in the back.
That's right. My danger sense gives me an easing on initiative.
Cool.
Which I'm gonna need because I only rolled a 4.
you're able to get the drop on him, and you could take a shot right now because he runs up to your window, and it looks like for a moment he's going to dive out of it. And then he slows for a moment, and he like tries to fumble with the latch. So it's up to you at this point.
I'm not going to shoot him, but I am going to say stop. I only want to talk at this point. This doesn't have to come to violence. Let's just talk.
He turns. So that's your action?
That'll be my action.
He turns, and as he does so, his hands explode, and what you see are the familiar jaws of a skin dog.
No!
And you need to roll to defend because those two jaws are about to clamp down on you.
That's awesome. All right. Can this be speed defense to get
sure.
out of the way?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead and roll to defend.
Because I am trained in speed defense.
Mm-hmm. So that eases it by 1. Or I should say that gives you... Yeah.
Right. I'll go ahead and use 1 point of effort.
Yep. So now, just to correct you on this, when you say 1 point of effort, it means you spend 3 points out of your pool, and if you have 2... 1
point meaning I'm easing it 1. But yes, it would cost me 3 points.
Right.
Except, of course, for my 2 points of edge. So it actually is 1 point in both ways.
No, well, it's called a step. The task is,
I moved it 1 step. I moved it 1 step because that's the category I'm using.
And it costs 3 points.
But I have 2 points of edge.
But you have 2 points of edge. Right. So 1 point. So you're not easing it by 1 point. I am a duly designated representative of Monty Cook's cipher system right now, and as such, I have been allowed to correct you on your terminology. Now, you're easing the task by 1 step. You are using 3 points, 2 of which are absorbed by edge. So that's 2. The task is easy. And we've been talking and chatting so much, I'd forgotten that he was attacking you. But at any rate, what did you roll?
I rolled a 17.
A 17. So those 2 slathering maws come right at you, and you can just smell the breath of them as they explode out of the flesh of the hands. And when those hands explode, what they do is they're almost like these, like a mummy. They're like straps of like skin that explode out. And as this happens, Reggie gets right up in your face, and you see the anger and the fury there as his own maw starts to open up, and there's something deep down in his gullet that doesn't look pretty, and that it smells awful. And you can kind of see the flesh along seams, like straps of it, that start to separate as Reggie gets angry, and it's coming at you again and not letting up, so you're going to have to attack. But you managed to allay that attack.
Excellent. My turn then?
Yeah, your turn to attack.
Yeah, then I will definitely shoot this guy. That's a big miss. That's only a 3.
You do. The firearm goes off, and it's enough to singe dear old Reggie in the side. And when you singe him in the side of the face, what you see is his flesh just lights up, and it fires along these straps that are moving along his face, sliding off as if he were wrapped in crepe paper flesh. And you see it just catch fire along with his hair, and now Reggie is definitely on fire. And you see him just like his neck kind of jerks off to the left and then to the right. And then with that, he begins to split in half. And with that, as he splits in half, I like how, ladies and gentlemen, just so that everybody knows, we send messages back and forth to each other through chat. So some people may be laughing because they're on a different level right now and in the game, and they're on a slightly different level. We're making some little jokes back and forth. Perhaps we'll share them with you one day, but for right now, we will not. And that is why our good friend James has just
shut his camera off.
Gone dark. At any rate, the body of Reggie begins to split in half, and these two dogs are now just tearing Reggie in half. And so they begin to come at you, and now they each have, unfortunately, one attack because they've just separated into two. So go ahead and roll and defend against the first attack, and I will share this. James said that he was drinking something and he just spit it everywhere.
It just sent me over the. I could not contain that
all right.
little tag in there. Really got me.
I wish we could release our own chat with this too. I think it would just add another dimension to what we're doing.
Well, subscribe to Matt's Patreon, and that'll be the
That's right.
extra perks.
I'll transcribe. That's right.
If you
All
buy
right,
in at the
Conan
$20
O'Brien
level,
Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the go to
Smash that
Patreon.
subscribes button. Wow.
Our
All right, for
viewership
the-
just went up after that joke, by the way. Our viewership goes up every time we mention Conan O'Brien. We go through the
For
roof.
the first attack, I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead and ease it one step with effort and my training and speed defense.
As a duly,
I rolled
duly
it.
designated representative of Money Cook's Cipher System, I appreciate you using the proper terminology.
You're
What was your
very
roll?
welcome. An 8.
With the first attack, you do manage to move that slathering maw off, but just barely, and you feel some scrapes of the teeth. And now, as punching out of the center of the body, the second one, with its claws, comes out at you, and it's covered in these ropes of flesh, these crepe paper ropes, and it's just scratching at your chest. So go ahead and roll for that defense.
All right, I will do the same thing. There's a 20.
Nice. I have an idea for this, but if you have an idea for your 20, so just to remind everybody, 20 is a major effect plus 4 extra points of damage. I have an idea for this, but I want to give you the opportunity to tell me what happens. But if you don't...
I'm willing to listen to your idea.
So here's my idea. So let me just say this. I think just in the interest of fun, why don't you just let me take care of this
Go
one?
for it.
So with that, you fire off, and the muzzle flash, you see, as you sort of pull your weapon, the muzzle flash explodes, lighting up the inner gullet of the creature, pointed at its mouth. And its head, like a red flower, a wet red flower, just explodes. And the body of the thing, the skin dog, just flops onto the floor, and blood fans out across the room. And in that moment, you are so shocked that you drop your weapon, and it goes skittering across the floor to the feet of your roommate, who's just opened his door in a coughing fit, sees what is happening, and absently picks up the gun, coughing. And you have a moment to just... It's your attack now at this point. And he looks like he kind of wants to fire, but he doesn't know what the hell's going on at this point.
Okay.
You got a moment to attack, to do whatever you want. One of the dogs is down. I was sort of figuring it was the one on your right. And now the one on your left is still up. and your roommate's just standing there like he's got the pistol in his hand.
Okay, then the first thing I'm gonna do is use Surging Confidence to use my one action recovery roll.
Yeah.
And that when I do that, it allows me
Recharge.
to actually take an action after that.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So you can take two actions.
I still get an action. That's right.
Got it. Oh, I get it. So the one action is to make a recovery roll, and then you get an action on top of it.
That's right. All right, there you go. I'll put that there.
Well, are you going to tell me what you rolled?
Okay. I rolled a 4, so
Okay,
plus my 2, that's 6.
Got it.
I'm going to dump them all in the speed. So I'm almost back up to
okay.
And then for my action, I'm going to say, what do I do? I go, whoa, Sam, let me just have that back, please, and see if I can get that back from him.
And I'm going to retroactively allow your 20 to continue into this roll, and he's just more than happy. He tosses it back to you in one of those slow motion sort of things, and you just barely managed to grab onto it, and so you've got that attack at this point.
Then I will definitely use it to shoot the dog.
Go ahead and make your roll.
I will use 1 level of effort on this as well.
Don't forget you have XP. Just what's that?
No, I'm not gonna spend any XP, but I only rolled an 8.
So you are actually you weren't easing it. You were just firing. I
used it 1 level with effort.
Okay, got it.
Used it 1.
You are barely able to hit the thing, and it's again when you hit it, those crepe paper like strips of flesh just kind of, you can see it in slow motion or just vibrating all across the body, and with each vibration you see the seams begin to tear away, and there's something red and pulpy beneath it, and that is that skin dog somewhere deep down inside, that weirdly fleshy creature that is now just split in half, and it looks sort of human but also sort of dog-like, and it's just coming at you. And so it takes damage. What's the damage on your firearm? Is it 2 or
it's 4. It's a medium.
4. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It takes the damage, and it just scuttles around, and it begins to yelp with that because there's enough flash. And now at that point, it starts running for the window one more time. I'd like to intervene, which you're not saying anything, so I assume
would love to.
Don't.
No, I definitely want to intervene. I was going to let you finish, but yeah, I definitely want to intervene.
It's just sort of disengaged at this point, to be honest. So you've got like an opportunity here to...
Yeah, no, I don't want to let it leave.
Looks like it's about to jump straight through that window. It's not. Right, it's not trying to take the latch. It's not trying to.
Right. Let me try and shoot it. That's a 2.
It ends up smashing through the window.
You roll like 2s or 20s.
Yeah.
I know. Very binary. It smashes out through the window, and when it does so, you can just hear that. It just goes right through it, and as it goes through it, there's just splatterings of that red, fleshy, pulpy blood, almost like like afterbirth, in a way. And those strips of crepe paper skin, human skin, that attaches it, that sticks to the windows, and it's gone and disappears out onto the sidewalk. And that's a pretty tall drop, and you can hear it hit something, and it's like a fleshy kind of splat as it hits, and then there's a howl and a growl, and you hear screams. And as you you and your roommate move up to the edge of the window and look out, people are looking up at you, and they're also looking at the skin dog, which looks like it's limping, but like a bullet cutting its way cutting its way through the crowd and tears its way down the street. And you just hear screams as it disappears. And then it's soon gone. And your roommate looks at you. I'm not so sure I'm glad you're back. And he begins to cough again. And you can see the sweat on him.
All right. I'm going to try and back out of the bathroom a little bit, give me some space from him. And just say, it was a stray dog. I don't know how it got in the window.
He looks down at the mess in the living room, because I assumed you were in the living room. And it's this bizarre half, and when I say half human, half dog-like creature, I just mean that literally it looks like you tore a human halfway down the middle of itself. And like half of its body is this weirdly contorted shape that would fit. And you can kind of see a mouth where the human mouth is, and you see a mouth where one of the arms is. And it's really bizarre, because it would be like as if it were going to run with on the head and on the leg somehow. And then deep below it, you see its hind legs kind of yanking off from another hind leg, and one hind leg looks like a human leg, and the other one looks like it was kind of encased within the human leg, and it's just a bunch of blood splatters and afterbirth. What the hell is that? That's not a dog. Jesus Christ. And he just backs up, and he's just hacking now and coughing. This has got to be a fever dream.
This is definitely a fever dream that you're having.
This has got to be a fever dream. Jesus Christ.
I think you should probably go to the hospital, Sam.
Wait, you mean you're not seeing what I'm seeing?
I'm just seeing a dog. I think you should go back at the hospital. You definitely are.
Jesus Christ. And now there's a crowd that's gathering all around the front of your place. Did they see a dog? What? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And he goes back into his room, and this time he leaves the door kind of open, and he just sits down on the bed, and he just seems clearly like shaken by everything that's been going on. Oh, my God. And he's coughing and hacking now, and he's bent over. And you can kind of see his face is going pale and almost maybe yellow, too.
Yeah, this is time to go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's probably a good place to break off. I know that tonight has been rather unusual in that we've been following individual threads. But the idea was that all of our characters have come back to Earth, and they are sort of tying up loose ends. Most likely next week, we will all be back together for a more traditional game. I want to thank my players very much for sort of putting up with that. I know it's sometimes hard, but I hope that each thread was entertaining enough to sort of keep you all interested for the duration of the game. And I hope you were paying attention, because I was trying my best to put some clues in there for your threads as well, if you want to do a little metagaming. I wanted to announce something. I should have said this at the beginning of the game. I should have said this halfway through the game. I should have said this every 15 minutes. Actually, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, because you lost 3 people.
I know, we're down to 5 people. We were up to 8,
Yeah.
but maybe they'll watch it later. I am actually going to have a guest on this coming Monday, December 7th, I believe it is, and I better look at my calendar just to make sure of that. I am very excited to announce, yes, on December 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will have a 1-hour interview with Sean K. Reynolds, ladies and gentlemen. And for any of you that know anything about Cipher System, Sean Reynolds works for Monty Cook at Monty Cook Games, and he is indeed, just to prove you that I'm not full of crap, he is one of the co-authors of the revised edition of Cipher System. I am very excited for this. I have to be honest, I'm a little nervous too. It's my first big interview. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've been talking to him messaging with him. And I'm going to talk to him a little bit about working at Monte Cook, his experiences in the industry, and to be honest, I just want to talk to him about gaming. I'm really curious to know a little bit about his gaming history, style, and just to get to know the person behind the gamer a bit. So I do hope that all of you will tune in and maybe even tell your friends. Again, I'm pretty excited about this. I would love to see more people there, and anyone that has any questions, I will of course pass them along. But I think I've got some pretty interesting questions to ask him when he comes on Monday. But as always, even if you don't make it for that, this will be taped and up on YouTube, livecast, of course, and then you'll have the recording to review later. But we, the Fierce Brood, we will be back next week at the same bat time and same bat channel here on YouTube, 8 p.m. Wednesday for next week. We've taken a few weeks off because we had trouble with YouTube, and then we had trouble with Thanksgiving. We all unfortunately have lives that we had to attend to. So thank you all very much for watching this evening. I hope to see you on Monday with Sean K. Reynolds, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if not, I hope to see you at least on Wednesday for our next episode of The Fierce Brood. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I had a great time. We will see you